about that. I just knew that I needed something to drink, so I got like a Propel.
I did that. I did the same thing.
Yeah, and then I'm tired as hell, so I got a Monster. And we're gonna be
Okay, we're live. I'll link it in the chat. This is also our first monetized stream.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, we have a whole membership thing now too.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So,
and then
you bet your ass we're gonna plug that.
Oh yeah, stay on that tab. Okay.
Here, I'll link stuff. Get everything rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Dasher podcast. FNMO4 will not be joining us today, unfortunately. He had to do something. So, say something in the chat. I'm gonna mod you.
I did. Yeah.
Nico said his internet died. That was really funny. Also, guys, if it's not evident by the screen, memberships are now available. So, if you want to become a member, all you have to do is click the join button. You can also donate if you want. We have all of it enabled now, completely voluntary. So,
if we don't get $400,000 by I don't know, 6010, it's over.
All right, we're about to transition into the magical scene. All right, ready? All right. Hello, Paqoe.
Hello.
Or Zoe, whatever you want to be called. What have you been
Either
doing?
one's
How
fine.
you been?
I've been doing great. I've been enjoying this new season of Fortnite. It's been really fun. Big fan of that. So that's what I've been doing for the past 2 days, basically.
Not much else.
Not much else. Well, you know, as far as online stuff goes.
Yeah. I assume everybody knows what's going to happen. We're going to get right into the meat and potatoes. Well, actually, not yet. Also...
No meat and potatoes?
No.
Well, not yet.
By the
Not
way,
yet.
Fortnite season being good, I want to try it so bad.
It's insane. So here's the thing about like the previous seasons, like recently, is that they have too many chests. You can land anywhere, and you'll get like a full gold loadout, and it doesn't even fucking matter. But now you can like land at some place that has nobody, and you'll just get bad loot. So you're incentivized to land at like Risky Reel, or not Risky Reels, Retail Road, Tilted Towers, Pleasant Park, and just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, that's what made Fortnite.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you for the $20, Kiru.
God.
Is Double Pump back?
It's not back, unfortunately.
Oh my god, of course.
Is turbo building still a thing? Like, are people still like
Oh,
doing their montages?
Yeah, so it's basically the exact same as how Fortnite used to be with all of the quality of life stuff nowadays. So it's really good. It doesn't have any of the bloat and stuff, so it's just great.
That's cool.
I'm actually so downloading it after we're done with this. I've actually been meaning to.
I've been pressured. I'll say that. I've been pressured to play it. So many people are like, dude, you gotta get on this. And I'm done.
I land tilted again, man. I'm gonna hit up all my old IRLs from high school and be like, yo, it's time. I haven't talked to those guys in like years.
Yeah, but I mean, articulating back to our talking points. Also, the talking points is in a pinned message if you want to read it or be surprised, up to you. But let's start with the bare beginnings. You know, the basics. How did you start playing GD? Did somebody show it to you? Did you find it on your own, and it just stuck? Like, what was that? What was that like? Nice. Good job. Your mic fucked itself. All right.
I laughed because it was just my mic. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, your mic is dead. Your mic's dead.
Oh god.
Change it in the control room. Dude, we're 2 for 2 for an audio issue. This is actually like...
Blizzard said I hear her talking in the other room. I don't know what's happening.
Say something? Okay, wait. You're using a Yeti, right? Oh, I can refresh it. Say something now. The request failed. This is good. This is good stuff.
Here. Does this work?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, great.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so your question, how did I start playing GD? So,
Yep.
basically, I played Terraria a lot, and I was kind of in the Terraria community around 5th grade and 6th grade. Um, and there was a server that I would play on just because, basically you could just spawn shit in and just have fun with it. So I'd play there a decent amount, and this was when I was maybe like 10 or 11. And there was someone I became friends with from that. And one time I saw they were playing GD, and I was like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's this game, it's kind of like the Impossible game. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Let me try it. And then, it kind of just went from there. And, I took a break to play Fortnite in like maybe 2018, 2019. But since, other than that, I've just pretty consistently been playing since.
Nice. Ever got burnout yet, or still going strong?
I'm not sure. It kind of depends. I get burnout on like a very cyclical sort of nature, if that makes sense. Like I'll be really motivated for like 2 weeks and then not really motivated for another 2 weeks and then sort of go back and forth. So I haven't really had any long-term burnouts over the course of like months or anything like that.
I could say to the contrary. I get burned out all the time. But it just happens.
This game's tough to be motivated.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
It is. Yeah.
All right. Well, it only makes sense now that we get into the real meat and potatoes. This time it's not going to be bait. Silent Clubstep. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you're very knowledgeable on the race, the verification, because you verified it, and all that
I'm
stuff.
Quite knowledgeable.
Yeah. You could basically, I just want you to go on a tangent about it, pretty much.
Sure. So, it was around this point of the game where I sort of started switching between a bunch of different levels, trying to really find something to make a name for myself. Because this was about a month after I had been the first victor, or not about a month, a couple months after I'd been the first victor of Promethean, and I'd gotten 91 on Tartarus and just didn't really have motivation to keep playing it out. And then I kind of switched between VSC and Arcturus, and then finally I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I want to do something really big. So I started DMing a bunch of people, and I was like, I'm going to play Silent Clubstep, like after the first day, just to kind of hold myself accountable with it. So I played for a couple of days, and I didn't really tell anyone publicly, and then just out of nowhere, I got to the drop. This was about a week, like 4 or 5 days after I'd started playing it. And then I just really struggled to have any sort of motivation for the next couple of months. Like, Vision was making really good progress. I felt like it wouldn't really be worth trying to catch back up.
Right.
But some point around April or so of this year, or of last year, I sort of regained my footing with it. And I, was really able to sort of dig back into it. And, that time I didn't drop it because 24 to 100 was just such a massive roadblock up until that point. And I'd finally done that, and I was like, it's time to fucking finish this. And then, I was really really, really stressed the entire time because Vision kept hyping himself up about how confident he was going to fluke the 8 jumps. So I was like, it's over. He's just got to pass 65, which is like the start of the duel, and then it's over. Fortunately for me, and unfortunately for him, that's not quite how that worked out. But, it really made me want to keep playing it instead of sort of letting myself fall back on that, because I knew I only had one chance to actually like be the person associated with it.
That's definitely a title, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
And a big accomplishment. I remember the day it got beaten, I still couldn't believe that.
Yeah, it was pretty. I wasn't expecting it myself, honestly.
That's crazy. That must have been.
Silent didn't expect that. I remember he congratulated you and asked
he
you
did.
for beating it. That was honestly such a. I was Final Destination, and I had been playing it since 2019. So seeing like you and Vision and like you guys like trying it and really like actually coming close. I remember seeing you guys would upload runs, and I would be like, wait, what the fuck? They're actually doing it.
Yeah.
And it just kept on happening. I was like, then it was like 11 to 100 was like normal, and I'm like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Nico,
see, here's the thing.
Wait, hold on. We have an issue.
Yeah.
Nico's volume is low AF apparently.
Oh.
Keep talking. I'll see if I
good.
can fix it.
Oh, I'm talking. I'm talking.
So something that a lot of people don't really consider is that although Vision was a very prominent player of Silent Clubstep around when I picked it up, it was actually Hyperbola who was the main person. Like, at the point that we were at when I started picking it up, Vision wasn't really on the radar that much. Like, his best run was, I think, like 13% or something like that, which in the grand scheme of things isn't really that far. And, seeing him really turn into the beast at the level that he is was really, it was hard to stay motivated, honestly, because I knew he was the type of person to actually see it through.
Yeah, and
Um,
also, wait, is my
yeah.
volume good? Is it chill now? I
wouldn't
need
be
to
it
see
wouldn't be a Dasher podcast without audio
without
problems.
audio issues, yeah.
Still the same, really?
Oh, it's
All right.
over.
How about
I'm
now?
gonna just start yelling at the microphone.
I just cranked it up.
All right, now I'm gonna be the loudest person on earth.
Still low, damn.
We'll
All
see,
right,
we'll see.
200%.
200.
Damn. I'm looking
Holy
at this
moly.
monster can right now, and in West Virginia, you can return it and get a whole cent. That's crazy.
That is an instant money creation. You spend like $3-4 for it, you get a cent back. Think about
Holy
it.
fuck. The returns.
All right, people are saying it's good. Some people are saying it's the same.
I can't go to 300, unfortunately. Anyway, yeah, with verifying Silent Clubstep.
I'm making
Also-
myself quieter on purpose.
Well, you are.
I want to say, I guess I will speak louder now. I was gonna say, like, Hyperbola really started the whole, like, made people believe that it was doable. Because for the longest time, and, like, for a really long time, people just, like, were like, oh, this level's impossible, no one's ever gonna beat this level. So anyone who, like, was crazy enough to try it and actually do runs was sort of, like, written off as, like, an idiot, sort of, by most of the community. Like, oh, why are you
Yeah.
even bothering to do this? Like, it's
I
a pointless
remember-
task.
There was actually a point at which some of his uploads really demotivated me, because it was like he's been playing for like a really long time, and I thought he was like he's a solid player. So the fact that, like, for instance, I'm looking at one of his videos right now, him struggling to get 9 to duel really sort of made me question if it was really worth trying to beat this in the first place. Because when you're playing something that's like so much harder than anything else at the time, it's really uncharted territory, if that makes sense. And it's really hard to know, like, okay, how close am I to beating this? And up until I got past the duel for the first time, I was like, I have no idea if I'm going to take another 100k or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like someone in chat said it wasn't it Septa. Like me, it was Septa and I who originally started the Unnerfed progress, but like the progress me and Septa made wasn't like this is progress in which this level can be beaten. No, it was like progress in which, like, we're showing we can do these parts of the level, but to ever think that, like, I don't think me or Septa, I'm sort of speaking for myself here, but I personally didn't believe after doing, like, I was the first person to do the 8 jumps to 100. Like, if you thought I could beat the level because of that, like, no. I did that. I did most of the drop. I did every part in the level, but I was like, there's no way I could ever do this. So when Hyperbola sort of came around and was just like, oh, well, I got to, like, 13, not only did it prove to people it was possible, it also proved sort of to, like, for example, like, with you, like, you see that and you're like, well, he's already so far he's so far ahead. He already spent so long to get here, so there's no way anyone else can sort of do it. Which is why so many people, like, were surprised with, like, when you got going on good runs. People were so sure, like, oh, Vision's gonna beat it, Vision's gonna beat it. And all of a sudden, like, he has competition.
Well, here's the thing, is that, like, seeing him fluke to 65 out of nowhere, considering, I would say that's, like, potentially, it's kind of like getting really far on Sakupin circles. It can mean you're either about to beat it or, like, a million miles away. So it was really hard for me to kind of know if I really tried to sink my teeth back into it, because at that point he had so much better runs than I did, if it would even be worth it, because he might just beat it any day, is kind of how it felt,
Yeah, and it's interesting how everything sort of played out in terms of, like, actual completion. It just, like, I think it shows how brutal that level is. Since,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Vision beat it so much later, but also, like, had some of the most horrendous luck I think I've ever seen in this game. Like, watching him post about his 65 deaths, like, pretty much every second day was, like, really just, like, my god. Like, I feel like the entire community felt for him when it came to that stuff. I want to ask...
Yeah?
In terms of Silent Clubstep, this has been on my mind recently because I've been talking with Silent about stuff, but
Yeah.
do you think, I know you told me that you were interested in the Unnerfed one, do you think that you, or in general, like, someone can beat the Unnerfed? And if you have any
So-
plans to do so?
I think that if it weren't for exactly one part, I would currently be playing the Unnerfed, and I'd probably have pretty good progress on it. It's just the 8 jumps for me. It's so much harder than like the equivalent in Final Destination. It's not even close. Like if I remember correctly, I was talking with Parker, who is a one of the prominent people who's playing the Unnerfed version, and he told me he'd gotten to the jumps from 24, like trying to do 24 to 100 at least 100 times, and had never done the run. It's such an absurdly demotivating part that like after playing for a couple of days, my best run was 56 to 100, which is insane. Um, and I just can't see myself really trying to dedicate myself to it to that extent. If someone really comes in and starts making huge progress, then I definitely consider it. And I do see it eventually getting beaten, honestly, but I doubt it would be me.
That's fair. Yeah, like that part really sort of started it all, like in terms of like progress. Everyone looked at those jumps because of how absurdly difficult they were. And
Yeah.
even like I know now people say like obviously they were nerfed. Silent did nerf them because he wanted them to be possible on 60 because that's how he originally built the level. But
Mhm.
like even the jumps in the current version, like
They're not
they're
that bad,
easy.
honestly.
They're easy in comparison when you play like the unnerfed jumps, but like they're not free. Like
They're
if
not.
you got good at like the unnerfed ones though, like yeah, like I remember playing it when the update came out, me and Scepter were playing it, we were like, "Oh my god, this level, it's possible." Just off like that one part. I guess one
Yeah.
more thing about the unnerfed is sort of I guess well, considering you've beaten it,
Mhm.
would you like personally like people to try and beat the compendium version or the official one? Because the
I would.
differences are, you know what
Yeah.
they are.
I would say I'm personally a supporter of the compendium version without the dual skip. I think the hitboxes have changed, and that's kind of how it is. And there's not really, I don't think that trying to artificially force the hitboxes to be any different than they are in vanilla GD is really the way to go about it. And then also, I just think the skip at 15% is completely fine. Like, it's such an awful click, and it's something that's sort of built into the level without being too detrimental to the difficulty, and I just say go for it, honestly.
You know, that's honestly one of the things I agreed with, by the way, with like I agreed with the community mostly with that skip to like leave it in, but Salient really didn't want it in. But
Yeah,
that
that's fair.
version, any versions like still quote unquote official, the companion one or the new one. But it's just interesting how like you would know how unbelievably fucked this level got by like physics changing and all that. Like
Yeah.
this
You
poor
have
level.
to, yeah, you have to take some very interesting approaches with some parts. Um, it's not great. It's so much worse than the verified version.
And we'll see, hopefully, in 2.2 how it plays. If it gets any worse, oh my
Oh,
god.
well, uh-huh.
That's
Would I
about all
consider
we can
playing
say.
it on a 1.9 GDPS? I wouldn't, honestly. There's just no point.
I
Yeah,
do have a
that's one
question
thing.
though. Sorry, go
Yeah, go
ahead.
for it.
No, you're
No, go
good.
for it.
Go
Go for it.
ahead. All
Okay,
right.
okay.
You know
I
what?
was gonna say, no, now it's over. You lost your turn. Now I have the talking stick.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
giving it
yeah.
back.
It's
One
fine.
funny thing is with I know like Silent Clubstep got verified obviously after Silent Club, and during that time, uh, I believe I'm not sure if it was because we thought so, and by we I mean me and Lukalizer, because we were both trying to
Hmm.
beat it during that time. But Lukalizer and I ended up playing it intentionally on the 1.9 like private server,
Yeah.
and then like after Lukalizer beat it, like I remember he talked to a moderator and they're like, "Nah, you got to do it on the server." So then he had to re-verify it on
I
2.1.
remember that, dude.
And he got thankfully he got super lucky. He never died past the spam and I believe 1.9 or 2.1. So we never
Jeez.
had to deal with like that, thankfully. But yeah, for Silent
Yeah.
Clubstep, like if there could ever be legacy physics, even for like 1.9, Silent Clubstep would honestly be like something I could see people, like the top players even now, regularly going for, because now it is sort of like its own niche. Like it's
Yeah,
always been a
absolutely.
niche.
It's kind of like Slaughterhouse, where there are specific silent clubstep players, you know?
Yeah,
Um, like you've got people who put like 500k in a Slaughterhouse, and they're a Slaughterhouse grinder, and it's like, that's crazy. I
yeah,
can't imagine, like, being a level player, if that makes sense. Same thing with
Yeah.
VSC.
true.
It's like with Muffy on Sonic Wave, how he has like a 800,000 attempts or something. But I have another question that's going to divert back to Silent Club Step. So when you originally verified it, there seemed to have been, I'm not sure if this was just a loud minority on Twitter like it always is, or if it was like, it was its whole thing. Do you think that the outburst that you received from pausing at the end was justified? Do you think it was an overreaction? What do you think about that? Do you just think people just like to talk, or do you think like there's nothing like, you know?
Well, okay, here's my thing, right? Is that every single person who plays Silent Clubstep has some sort of strategy that they do for that last part.
Right.
Like most people like right click, if that makes sense, or press some other button on their keyboard to kind of keep track of it, and then just start clicking normally when you're supposed to be clicking. And you know, someone asked me actually that basically that same question the other day, and out of curiosity, I opened up the level and I did maze to 100 first try without using any sort of pauses or anything. The thing is, I know the pattern for the level very well, and I absolutely didn't need to pause, but I did it sort of as an homage to there was a player who beat Silentium Grados many years ago, and he sort of inspired me quite a bit as a player in the first place, and he did the same strategy, but to a much worse extent. And I sort of just wanted to, you know, reference that a little bit. And I'm a little, you know, in hindsight, I don't think that was the best choice, as it really got out of hand, and
Yeah, I remember.
you know, people are really annoying about it, but like, yeah, I don't think it really matters. It's the same difficulty. It's just a safer way to do it.
I just think people fucking. I get what they're saying, but I think some people just blow so many things out of
Oh, yeah.
proportion. Like, in the context of verifying SC, it is something that would be worth talking about, depending on the severity. But, I mean, you know, I'm a little neutral about that, honestly.
Yeah.
It just
me,
seems like an overreaction.
With that stuff, it was so funny because I remember I think you said publicly as well that you were doing it, and you also kept, Mega Hack has the whole thing where it will ask you if you're sure you want to exit. You had that off on purpose too.
I had that off on purpose, yeah.
Like you kept the risk that the game sort of had.
Yeah,
And
see,
people
here's
like
the
to
thing
ignore
is that, like, I think that a lot of people, like Watch Piggy, who have used pause buffering, if I had to guess, they probably use the ignore escape hack. And I personally feel that even if I think it's a little bit cheap in the first place. Like, I don't think it matters. It's so far below the bar of what actually devalues a completion. But I think that then making it so that there's literally zero potential risk or downside to using that strategy just makes that go way up, and it just really undermines it. So I just wanted to keep it the way that it was, or the way that I had done it. And I didn't want to fuck up my muscle memory or anything. So I didn't bother learning to do it without pausing, even though I know how to do it. I just wanted to make sure that when I got there from zero, I wasn't suddenly changing up the way that I approached it. And yeah, part of that for me included just playing on vanilla GD so that I wouldn't, or not vanilla GD, but not modifying that element of the game just to make sure that I'm doing it as fairly as possible.
Agreed.
Mhm.
I think that anyway, I find it so funny that I saw like a video that had like a good amount of views too, like talking specifically about that, like if you had cheated, and I find it so silly because pausing in GD has been like one of those things that like we silently as a community just don't talk about because it can be actually abused, which is not what you did. But like when people went with Silent Club, it was an actual like the first level of its kind where people were trying to like intentionally do the spam while pausing, like over and over. And
Oh
over
my
and
god,
over
I
and over.
remember that.
And
yeah.
I remember like they would pause in between every click, do like the corner jumps that were much harder without pausing, and they were just like, yeah, no, this is fair. And then you
See-
pause at the end of a maze, which also on that version of Silent Clubstep, because you know on the Unnerfed, the barrier on top of you that would keep you inside kills you on higher refresh rate. You can't hold
Yeah,
during
you
one
can't
of the
hold.
staircases. That is like the Unnerfed is the only one where I'd even entertain the possibility of it being sort of cheesy because you remove the like one of the harder timings when you hold up for however long it is. I think 14.
Yeah.
But on the version you were playing, that there's like no risk as long as you remember there's no risk. So it's
No,
so
see, that's
silly.
the thing, is that if anybody, no matter what strategy you use, if you die to the last maze of Silent Clubstep, you're done.
Yeah, you fucked it up.
Yeah. No, dude, one time I did, okay, this is like kind of unrelated. Ice Cave, one time I did 26 to 81 on Silent Clubstep by accident.
Oh my god. Where even is that?
It's like, okay, I fucked up the blue orb right before the maze. I
Yeah, no,
started clicking too early.
Oh my! I had to like make sure because I was like 81, really? Like,
No,
like, I
it's
was
the
thi-
weird. It was the start of the second club step monster to 81. It's
uh,
really dumb.
Jeez. You know, like the ending is such like I find it funny that now it's only difficult because like the only way I think anyone could ever die there, pausing, not pausing, whatever, is
Mhm.
just purely because of how nervous you'll be. Because nobody under any normal circumstances who like plays the level will ever die there ever. It's only if you're
Exactly. Yeah.
extremely nervous or like your brain turns off because you're doing a run and you don't really care.
See, here's the thing, right? Is that very late on, or very early on in my Silent Clubstep progress, I realized, oh, I don't need to pause. I've learned the memory. But I never really got around to it just because, like, if I happened to get to the last maze, I didn't want to suddenly stop doing it the way that I had been doing it that entire time, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
And I
that
was
muscle
really
memory's huge.
scared that I'd fuck up my muscle memory or something like that if I, like, abandoned that strategy. And I felt like I was just kind of in too deep, so I just kind of threw up my hands and was like, fuck it, I'm going to embrace it.
There's
And, you
so
know,
many people
I
do
paused
that.
at the end of Silent Clubstep. That's cool as shit. It's called tactical pausing, as someone called it, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just
One
don't
thing
tell
people
that
don't get-
to. Just don't tell
Yeah, no, go.
Twitter that.
That Twitter will always make a fuss out of everything. But people
Yep.
also don't understand. I find that really interesting because a lot of that is way more normalized. Like people who play really hard levels that have developed their click patterns or whatever they do, trying to change when you're in so deep is just like people understand like, oh yeah, like you're not doing it quote unquote correctly or you're not doing it optimally, but you're used to it. Like I remember when Brandon Larkin was doing Zodiac because I used to play it a bunch and I popped into his streams. He was dying to certain parts, like samifying, and I'm like, he's dying because he's doing these really weird things that like there's easier ways to do, and like me and him actually like talked about it and whatever, and he tried them out. He's like, yeah, I can do this, but I've just been playing it way too much like this that I can't, and he just stuck to his strategies because he was just in so deep. So
Yeah,
it's
makes
funny that
sense.
that also like applies to yours.
I was actually playing Slaughterhouse, doing the hard route for the Clubstep monster near the end of River.
Oh.
I just did a click pattern that makes it super weird because you start clicking while you're a mini portal or right after you hit a mini portal, and it's really jank and inconsistent. So I died there a lot. Nobody else did, but it's how I learned the level, and it was too late to change it, you know?
Yeah, that sort of stuff really. It's interesting how easy or hard someone's experience could be on a level just completely depending on how they learn click patterns, which is why I think now everything's getting so tight and everything's so
Mhm.
like buffing around click patterns because people want you to do it one way.
Yeah, exactly.
Bas-
I do like Silent Clubstep for all of its awfulness because there are so many different ways that you can do like the ship at 25, you know,
Oh
or
yeah.
the entry into the spam. Like
Now, are you a
one
two
strategy.
clicker or one clicker?
Um,
Or do you do
I'm
like
a two
the
clicker.
Guess what I am? You won't believe it.
3.
I was 3 to 4.
That's so rad.
I don't know why I do that. I just do, even on Death Quarter, the intro of the drop, which is sort of similar sort of movement where you go downwards, I do in like 3 clicks when you could do it in like 2.
Personal preference is fascinating.
That's
It
what I'm
is.
saying.
Like, you know that part in Ultimate Demon Mix where it's on Theory of Skrillex, and it's those like orb slope clicks? You know how you're
Oh,
supposed to just
don't
hit the
remind me
yellow
of those.
orb? You know how you're just supposed to hit the yellow orb and then go on the slope and then just hit the last 3? You
Yeah,
know
you
how
can
there's
do
two
40
you know how
different
there's
things.
2 blue orbs in between?
Yeah, you hit
I was
both.
getting inconsistency on 360, so I literally just clicked all of them. I
So
went like this.
bad.
I went like
I'm trying to think if there's any. I'm looking at the list right now to see if there's anything where I've done stupid patterns like that. I
a lot
remember
was common.
jumping right before I would hit the slope, right before the spam and Silent Clubstep, so that I would have less
Oh,
vertical
yeah.
momentum going down, which means that I would have a more predictable entry into it, which I thought was pretty clever.
That's something
Um,
that people don't even get. Oh, so many people do it so different. Some people jump into it, some people don't. Some people do like a weird mix where they jump strictly into the orbs and avoid the slope completely.
Yeah. No, I want to do it in the way that's the most predictable and reliable. And you know, I was pretty good at the pre-drop overall. So like, yeah, it worked for me. So you know,
whatever works.
Mhm.
Whatever works. I mean, you did verify it. So clearly you're doing stuff right.
Speaking of doing
Plus-
stuff right, well, way later
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
God, there's this one guy who seemed to be so good at the game, who you had a direct hand in exposing, and I don't even know if I want to say his name to give him the satisfaction, but SpaceUK, man. The fucking biggest liar on the planet.
Oh my god.
Most
Yeah.
untrustworthy
Space
motherfucker ever.
is one of the most. It's an awful situation to have happened when it comes to it's like the people it harmed and sort of what the player mentality was like during that point. But it was such an interesting sort of era in the game, and it's fascinating where he kind of pushed the community, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you comfortable talking about like the intricate process of how everything unfolded and what you can talk about without like revealing
totally.
stuff to hackers and whatever?
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty good at not leaking things typically.
Yeah.
So basically, this was about half a year after Buffbat had been exposed, and I had heard about some way to sort of bypass ways that you can sort of check how Buffbat hacks, and I didn't really think anything of it, but I just wanted to make sure. And I'd heard that the person who had figured out this idea had done it with space, or not done it with space, but was associated with space. And I'm not sure where I got that misconception from. But I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go take a look at Space's videos. And then I look at like his Acheron and stuff like that, and the click delay is just fucked. It was just terrible. And nobody really had a good understanding of how click delay worked at the time. We've really figured that out a lot better since then. But he did a pretty good job overall. Like, I was pretty confident that some things like Firework weren't hacked because his click delay was just so good. But that's also because it's such like a click patterny level, whereas Acheron kind of isn't to the same extent, if that makes sense.
I kind of understand.
Yeah. But it was really hard to sort of pin him down because I was looking down the wrong hole for it, if that makes sense. Like, I was kind of thinking that he was hacking a certain way when I figured out it was just way simpler. Like,
So
I thought what he was
primitive.
doing was like Buffbat but better, but it was actually just an entirely separate thing.
I still can't believe that.
Yeah. And, it was definitely a pretty bad case of negligence on the list's part to an extent, I would say. But I also think that most people who think they would have done better in our shoes probably wouldn't have.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I agree.
The way in which he sort of presented himself made it really seem like he was a legit player. And I talked to him a decent amount, and he sort of seemed really, as someone who I'd say is pretty close to the sort of upper top of players. He seemed like his opinions and sort of his stances were pretty in line with how other people see levels and things like that. So I kind of just didn't really think anything of it.
Yeah, like one thing with the whole space stuff, especially in sort of regards to a lot of people sort of being like, how could this happen? And people really like being like, wow, demon list type stuff. And like, I used to be on it once upon a time.
Yeah.
And I can like 100% attest to like, when you're dealing with people, especially like players who have developed a place in the community, like SpaceUK was very well known, had such a long catalog of completions. Like anyone on the list was like, oh, that's Space, and that was kind of it. Like people don't usually like people will look into things at first, but once it's developed, like, oh, this person's like fine, whatever. It's not often that like every next thing, like every single thing you're submitting now, we're gonna do the fullest deep dive on every little thing.
Yeah.
And
Here, let
because
me go into
developed
a
that
channel
trust.
in the demon list really quickly. In submission, I'm just curious how many records get submitted.
It's kind of crazy. Like, Space was just playing pawns out of the demon list and the
Yeah,
community.
he built trust. He was very smart, but also very stupid. And the only reason he got away for as long as he had, in my opinion, was because his hacking method was so stupid. In the funniest way.
It wasn't even that stupid, because here's kind of what happened, right? Is that he built up his reputation at a point where hack detection was really a lot less developed. And people hadn't really figured out how to do stuff super well. And that's really where he sort of built up his reputation and kind of became like, oh, well, Space is legit. So, when I figured out new ways to catch hackers, I would test it on his records and stuff like that. And most of the time, it just wouldn't really have any issues. So I just didn't really think anything of it, because like, who would possibly cheat the way that he did at that point?
Yeah, right.
But the reality is that he'd just been doing it that entire time.
That's a hole,
like
man.
he was at the right place in the right time for what he was doing. Like Blitzer said in chat, like we didn't have hitbox view for his no clip the golden,
Hmm.
because like yeah, like we didn't have hitbox viewer back then. It's why like even before space, the whole Minecrafted image, the Erebus one for example, the infamous one from I forget what year, like stuff like that was normal because a lot of
Oh,
times even
yeah.
yeah, like
Sorry, no, you continue.
your video on did Bo really like no clip VSC was super popular because again there was no hitboxes, there was no like, oh just overlay this and here you go. Like you really had to go out of your way to make sure that everything was fine, and because he built such a reputation when he did, like when there was more
Yeah.
developed ways to detect cheats, it's like no one would have thought he cheated. So when everything sort of went down, like it was a surprise for literally everybody,
Yeah.
especially since you'd assume um, someone who like wanted to do what he did would try and be more disconnected from the community, sort of like,
Hmm.
not be
Exactly.
friends with all the top players and all these people and creators.
Yeah.
Like I was chill with Space. He
Me
hacked my
too.
level,
Yeah.
and I was his friend. Like, you
There's
know what I
one
mean?
thing I remember him saying that he used like some Justin Bieber song for Silent Club, like not Clubstep, but Silent Club because
Mhm.
it synced better. And I was like, oh, why would a hacker ever figure that out? He's
Yeah.
definitely legit. Like there were such specific little things that he would kind of say where I was like, oh, nobody who has ever like played the level or who hasn't played the level would ever think of that. And
Yeah.
yet he did, and it's really crazy.
Remember the
Like
piano
as
player thing?
uh, dude, yes. And then like him being sick for an entire year, and that's why he was able to like play levels so much. Like he had a really good
Oh,
alibi, all things considered. Like, oh, I started playing during quarantine. Yeah, that I believe that. That makes sense.
his story is so good, and like when you said the sick thing, my God, he got away with Slaughterhouse because of that. It's the only reason I
Hmm.
didn't suspect him. Well, I low key, I don't know if I messaged you, so correct me if I'm wrong, but
I
I
don't
remember
remember.
when when the whole Slaughterhouse race was going on, I literally said in my video that
Hmm.
don't expect anything anytime soon because I knew the level like everyone was dealing with in the race, and
Yeah.
he was just so like the best was 51 by Zamasu on a slightly easier version, and Space had gotten to Cuber. Like it was
Yeah.
just not even close, and I remember asking him like, "Hey, dude, like, how much are you playing this level?" And like his attempt count wasn't super high, but he was
It was
like,
40K. That's
"Yeah,
insane. I
he was."
spent 40K over the course of like probably I would say the equivalent of like 3 weeks of constant playing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and he like basically said like, "Oh yeah, like I'm really sick right now." And the thing is, he wasn't even lying. Like we were calling in that server quite often, and like he was genuinely sick with like a cold or something. So he's like, "I'm really sick. I'm not going to school. I'm not going out or anything. So I'm just pretty much only playing Slaughterhouse." And I was like, "Well, all right." And when he verified it, it made sense only because of that. Because
Yeah.
if he was like
No.
going out and doing shit, I'd be like, "No way, you beat this level in 2 weeks. Fuck off." And that's why
Exactly.
I
But
was
he
still
spent yeah.
suspicious of him. I remember asking someone like, please, please, please check his raw footage because I have no idea like how he's this good, right?
Yeah.
And then everything was fine. I was like, okay, and because I believed his story, and
Hmm.
I find that very interesting because if Space was just sort of someone who stayed away, wasn't very involved, didn't say much, just sort of did like what you think someone like him would do. If you're gonna
Exactly.
cheat you think they wouldn't want to be involved, but him being involved is what made it so like like convincing for so many people.
Yeah, he actually just 40
Yeah, no, that's
chested.
definitely how it was for me. Um, see, okay, I think I should have addressed the elephant in the room, which is Colo here, because I saw some people mention that in chat. So here's the situation with him, right? Is that um, I don't know who was the person who was like, you are wrong or whatever,
Hmm.
but it was a really weird situation because the video for his 90, I looked back at his videos and his proof for the 91% video being hacked was 100% right. But his proof for the completion sort of hinged on auto music sync somehow being him cutting the video or something like that. So if I had to guess, what probably happened was someone looked at that and went, oh, that doesn't mean anything. You are wrong. And then just kind of
Yeah.
moved on with their day. And, I wish that since then we've taken a lot more time to sort of make sure that we're, looking into if people are like, oh, I might have credible evidence that this guy is hacking, we make sure to, give it our due diligence and make sure that we're looking into it properly. And so far, Colo was really sort of a 1 in a million sort of thing, because I've gotten a lot of different requests from people being like, oh, this player is hacking, and then it's always something BS.
Yeah.
So I understand why people are so dismissive of it, but, credit where credit's due. He did figure this shit out a while ago.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's something people don't get, because, like, again, when I was on the list and stuff like that, like, everyone sort of relied on each other for evidence, and when, the list, when I was on the list, when we were looking into someone, like, I'd get other list team members to be like, hey, what do we think of this? Sit down and call and we discuss it, and we make our verdict, because, like, we trust each other, we have all the information, whatever. But,
Yeah.
like, when someone random comes out of the blue and is like, yo, I have the proof to, like, expose the literal #1 best player this game has ever had ever, it's like, your immediate thought is like, okay, like, sure. Like,
Yeah, no,
whatever
see,
you say.
that's the thing. I've gotten when I said I've gotten like 10 different things of people saying that like random top player hacks, like probably like 7 of them are Zoink. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane.
But I got this new evidence on Zoink. And all I'm saying about Zoink, by the way, so many people want Zoink to be a hacker, but he does way too much proof-wise.
They're
Like, he
injecting
streams-
him
Yeah.
with
He does
something. Like,
everything except for hand
Yeah,
cam.
no, I've
That's
done
it.
yeah.
Like,
He's
the only
like-
thing he could do more. Oh my god.
you know
The
my
only thing he
theory?
could do more is hand cam. That's it.
Yeah,
I have a
and
theory.
I honestly don't think that hand cam is really that useful.
Oh,
if you're
especially
able to
Nick
hack at if you're able to hack at the level that he would have to be, then you're gonna figure out a way to sort of bypass hand cam as like a
Mhm.
meaningful way of, like, for instance, like if you have like a super low FPS camera, then there's nothing we can really do about that, but it's technically a hand cam. Like, we can't force people to be like, oh yeah, you have to give us a 60 FPS phone recording, because some people just don't have the technology.
Yeah,
And I'm just
phones
bringing this
are
up
not great.
because, like, some people were mentioning in chat, oh, why aren't hand cam records, or why isn't hand cam a requirement for a record? And that's kind of why. It's just because it's really hard to be consistent with it.
Mhm.
And maybe, like, when technology gets better, because currently, like, I remember when I used to do hand cam stuff just for, like, friends. Like, I remember with Silent Clubstep, Hyperbola was just like, how do you do the spam at 15 consistently on a mouse? And I'm like, I would show him, like, oh, I just, like, I click, I don't jitter. He's like, can you send me, like, a hand cam of it? So, like, but, like, my phone is, like, doesn't record super high FPS, and even when I line it up to the video, like, it's slightly laggy. And when you're trying to, like, get, obviously with the list, you do 100% concrete evidence only. Like, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter if things are extremely suspicious, even if there's a mountain of it. If it's not concrete, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So when it's stuff
because
like
a
if you're
false
adding
ban is
hand
such a
cam-
bad look.
Oh yeah. So like when a hand cam is like, oh, it's slightly laggy, it's slightly doing this because someone's camera, like you can't even use that. At that point, it's kind of useless. Like, and
Yeah.
if they're a good player, like for example, Space, even though he cheated, he was a good player. Like, they would be able to fake that level of evidence anyways. To the
Mhm.
point where
Because
like,
if
there's
you're
so many
able to
factors.
hack for hours on stream and get away with hacking a top 1 like Zoink did, then you'd be able to figure out a way to make a hand cam look convincing. right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Like, also another thing, I see people kind of equate Zoink and Space, and although they're obviously light years ahead of everyone else when it comes to skill, that's really kind of where the similarities end. Zoink is so much more involved. He has much more rigorous proof. He streams. The only hard thing Space ever streamed was Rust with his mic off because it was allegedly broken.
Yep.
Like, there's no similarities there. And look, is it possible that Zoink's hacking? Like, I guess, but I just don't see a world in which that's the case.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
amounts of proof, even though like keep in mind like I've been skeptical of people in the past because like I've seen top players come up and go down and people like end level start and stop type stuff like so when there's someone like Zoink that does exist, like obviously even if I'm not like super duper involved with top players in that community or whatever, I'll be like, okay, this is kind of weird. So like I'll
Yeah.
like personally just be like, I'll keep my head up and sort of watch that stuff. So but when it came
Yeah.
to Zoink, I'm like, oh, he's streaming, he's doing this, he's doing that, and I'm like, there's like, even if I wanted to believe he was cheating, I literally can't. There's just
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, look, don't get me wrong. If Zoink cheated, we'd be
He's a
eating
genius
good.
if he cheated.
But, but, because that would mean I have a shot at trying to be the best
Yeah,
player,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I just don't see it in the cards. I don't think he's hacking.
I feel like a lot of people also feel like they can't be the top player. And this is a conversation I actually had yesterday, I believe. I was talking about how, like years ago, even if it was like before Space and sort of N Switch, everyone sort of felt like no matter how good you were at the game and like in the current present that you were like speaking in, even if it was like 2018, 2019, 2020,
Mhm.
you felt like you had a chance. Maybe I could be the best. Just maybe I can just really try my absolute hardest and dedicate myself and be the best. But like during like these times, like you look
Well,
at
it's
people
kind
like
of been
Zoink
like
and
that
it's
since
like,
it's been like this for ages.
Yeah.
Sunix was years ahead of everyone, Nswish was years ahead of everyone, and now Zoink's years ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
It's and eventually someone's going to be years
someone
ahead of
else is gonna
everyone,
be.
including Zoink, and that's just kind of how it is.
It's so
I
hard to
wonder,
believe, though.
I wonder one thing though is sort of
Yeah.
how things would have been, like how you think things would have been if space like was just completely cut out of the picture. Because obviously Crisis would have been the best player.
Yeah.
Even though Crisis
totally.
was
Crisis
so
was known
good.
as the number
Was
2
so-
behind
yeah,
Space.
He was so good, but obviously he wasn't space level because he wasn't cheating. But I wonder how the community would have went if they saw Crisis as the number 1 best. Like if they would have viewed him as leagues ahead or not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I mean I would say he was pretty clearly, not to the same extent as Space and Swish Zoink are kind of seen compared to everyone else, but he was much better than the number 3 player at the time.
Yeah.
Who was the number 3 at the time?
Wasn't it Wolf?
I'm not talking about like stats viewer here, but more about skill.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just
Like it could
flatlining.
be Wolves, could be RG, could be Jeller, it could be a lot of people. I don't really
Didn't
know.
RG get robbed of number 1?
Yeah, but here's my thing
He
about
had
a
it.
lot of the people who are kind of like, oh, I got robbed from number 1, is that like if Space wasn't top 1, then other people would have grinded instead. So it's kind of like how I'm gonna say something a little controversial here, and this also applies to myself a little bit. I don't particularly think I verified a top 1, and I really don't think Zanny did, because it's just conjecture. This wasn't something where there weren't opinions at the time. The skill set of the community just shifted. And although Swai scene is harder now, it was pretty clearly not at the time. It used to be, I think, below the golden, like pretty
Perfect
solidly.
example, Bloodbath.
Yeah. Bloodbath was above everything, and now it's below everything. Slaughterhouse, I could honestly see moving down below some shit. And that's not
I can
because
even
these
agree.
levels are inherently harder than Slaughterhouse. It's because the skill set for Slaughterhouse is a lot more accessible now than it was 2 years ago when it came out.
Oh yeah, especially since like Slaughterhouse is I think one of the best examples, even obviously, because like I made that in late 2018, 2019, right? That during that era that I made it was literally made to be like no one will ever beat this, like no one will ever do this, because during the time like the Slaughterhouse mini wave at the drop the up down corridor, Fever Dream has the same part. I was doing that in 2019 because I was like, this is the hardest wave that like I can do, period, and I don't think like this will ever be normalized. Like this was supposed to be like impossible. And nowadays like it's like a pushover. Like nobody cares. So like now like in 2023 you look at Slaughterhouse and like this skill set has been pushed so far. And that's why like even though I made Slaughterhouse, I'm super biased because I made it whatever. If AOD gets moved above, honestly, I can see that happening just simply because AOD's skill set, it's XL, super first half heavy, so weird,
Exactly.
gimmicky, and Slaughterhouse is just it's always been since the day I made it, but brutal but to the point, straightforward, simple.
seems very
There's no
focused.
huge learning.
Yeah. See,
The learning
Wave
just
is such
playing
a
over and over.
Wave is so much more accessible than the sort of choke pointy style of like Acheron or AOD.
Yeah, no, it's very funny how sort of in terms of even with the whole like Zanny top 1 thing or all that sort of things with the skill sets shifting, how skill sets like rule the game and people don't really notice that in terms of like top demons and stuff. Like people don't realize like, for example, even if you are, let's say, the best player, let's say you're the
Yeah.
best player and your best game modes are like wave and ship, you will naturally
Yeah.
struggle way more with a level that don't like utilize that, and your opinion will be shifted because like, oh, I think Slaughterhouse is like number 10, and I think like this level that's way more dependent on timings and like UFO and ball is like 5 spots like above, just because your
Exactly.
skill set is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of a player who Nico and I honestly just don't... He's legit now, but this is where we're going to disagree, and this is going to get interesting. So Nico and
Oh,
I
I know
are
it.
firm believers that Dolphie has hacked something. And I know that you
Okay.
think he's legit, which is okay, and I'm very interested to hear why you think that, and maybe I could get my mind changed. So...
Sure.
It's gonna be very
so-
interesting.
Okay, it's probably better for me to sort of ask why you think he hacks first,
Yeah,
because
well,
you know
let me-
I obviously was pretty involved with that,
And who
and I'd
else-
like to
who else
know,
say?
not counting any sort of circumstantial evidence, specifically talking about concrete here,
Yeah.
why you think he hacks.
I'll say because a lot honestly don't know that during the whole end level Dolphie exposal thing, I was one of the main people who was a part of that.
Hmm.
Um, the main reason is I will get it out of the way 100%. Everything that there is not concrete, and it's why
Okay.
I still believe that he everything that happened, him not being banned and everything, was completely justified. But
Yeah.
I do want to say that the reason that I still believe to an extent, and I could obviously entertain both sides. I'm not like
Sure.
Dolphie hacker no matter what. But no, but I can entertain the idea that he has hacked at least something, because during the time of the
Yeah.
exposal, a lot of people don't know this, but we originally banned him, and we as I mean list team banned
Hmm.
him because he refused to give us evidence that we were asking for. So his initial ban that lasted a few days was because we were literally telling him like for weeks, like 2 weeks or so. We're like, hey man, we need this footage. He's like, no, how about I live stream? How about I do this? No, like, can we have this? And he'd be like, no. And he just stopped responding, stopped working with us. So we
That
had
is
no other
weird.
choice to like ban him because nowadays, funny enough, like, I'm not sure if I'll say this, so I won't, but like modern day, if I wanted to go back and look, because I still have the Dolphie server, um,
Hmm.
at all of the links and whatever, like they're all dead, and also
I
none
remember.
of them,
I
none
asked
of
for
them
this
even,
like
yeah, yeah. I
couple
was
months
saying,
later.
I was saying I didn't know if I was able to bring that up, but like yeah, you asked for like those links, and I said like they're all dead, and all of them are also like rather Dolphie like tampered with them or he didn't give it to us, because like even looking back on it now, there's literally zero that we can do, even as someone who like I'm very skeptical of him in his past.
Hmm.
There's nothing I could ever do to disprove him in any way, because concrete, he never provided us with the things that we needed, and he actively dodged giving it to us, which is why we originally banned him.
Yeah, that's
Like
fair.
I remember the funniest occurrence. I'm not sure if I told you, but it was also a dead link anyways. But his Ragnarok raw footage is something he did give to us because we found an
Hmm.
inconsistency with his intro. When he gave us his quote unquote raw footage, it was very clearly not his raw footage, because if you watch the video, the volume would it would become quieter at around 70%. So I'm like, why is it becoming quieter? I open his Ragnarok video. There's no clicks, so the audio is boosted, and then he adds his clicks so the song gets quieter. He just sent me the track of the video that he had already edited, removed the rest, and sent it to me and told me it was his raw footage. So I was like, hey, like, we can't do shit with this. Like, can you give us anything else? And he was like, nah. I'm like, do you have this? No. It's like, why not? He's like, well, I record with sometimes OBS, sometimes Shadowplay. I typically do Audacity for my clicks. And I was like, dude, like, can you give me like one answer? He's like, nah, I use a bunch of stuff. So that's
Real.
like, looking back on it, I'm like, never ever gonna be able to say that he hacked something for sure. But there's so much stuff that like he dodged and we
Hmm.
didn't get, to the point where I'm like, yeah, I think there's something he might have cheated.
That's
That's
what I
fair.
was gonna
See,
say.
we have some pretty, I would say, decently robust ways of looking at videos without raw footage. And I remember looking over Tartarus and, not really thinking that it was hacked because everything lined up, but it's also possible that we didn't look into it enough, or that it could have been something other than Tartarus. I'm not really sure.
If you want, I do have two like examples that I could say.
Oh no, it's fine. Um, I don't know. If you ask me about this some other time, I will like look
You know,
into it, I guess.
I'm not saying it to like press you and be like, how
Oh,
could no?
okay.
I'm just saying in general for anyone watching and stuff. If you wanna look into it for yourself and make a please your own educated conclusion, and don't harass anybody over anything, because as I said, you're probably never
Yeah.
gonna find anything because it's not there, because we were never given it. But
Yep.
his two videos to me stand out the most, being his one on Lucid Nightmares, because he had told us his clicks are like super pitched up and have no bass, as if he just speed hacked it and sped it up. And when I asked him why, his answer was, I sped it up, like I sped it, no, he's like, I pitched up the clicks to make them sound cooler, was his answer to me.
Uh-huh.
Unironically, what he told me. And I believe I still have
That's
a
so
screenshot of
bad.
that. So he told us that, and you could probably imagine me on the list team who's like inclined to
That's
believe that
pretty
he was
bad.
cheating. He's like, dude, I pitched them up because they sounded cooler. I'm like,
That's
okay,
so
man,
bad.
whatever you say. And it was that, and his cognition, completion. He had not was it no, it was Colretta. His Colretta completion, his jumps. If you like, at the end of the video, he shows his attempts and stuff. His jumps in relation to attempts on his like 24% copy was like absurd.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
yeah.
So here's
many
the
clicks.
issue about Koa, is that it specifically has parts where you're holding on slopes really quickly, which accumulates jumps super fast, and it has H blocks. So
Oh yeah, I'm aware.
it's unfortunately one of those levels where you can't really
You can't say
use
for
like
sure, yeah.
yeah. It also, if you're playing from 24, that's right around when the first H block is.
Oh.
So you're obviously gonna have a ton of jumps on that.
You know what he told me though?
So what did he tell you?
He told me, because I asked him about that too. I'm like, hey, you have a lot of so many jumps on this 24 copy. He's like, oh, I just did like 24 to 100 like 50 times. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn,
I
bro.
mean,
I was like,
like-
shit. And he had, I was like, all right, bro. Again, obviously not concrete, whatever, but I'm just saying why I have my, like, I'm skeptical. But obviously,
Sure.
again, obviously nowadays it's very, very, very clear that regardless of his past or whatever, if he did cheat back then, which doesn't even matter anymore. It's not like it would
Yeah.
change shit. Even if he was exposed, like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't matter. But nowadays, like, everything he's doing, like, is 100% fine. So like,
as far as I know,
it,
yeah.
it doesn't, yeah, like as much as like, obviously I don't have his like any of his footage or his files or whatever, but like, I'm inclined to believe everything he's doing now is like fine. He would stream, he would do everything like properly. So I was like, okay, like even if he did hack in the past, he's not hacking now. So
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
GG handshake emoji in my opinion.
GG handshake.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
add
mean,
on to that. Nico summarized it pretty well, but it's all like the weird things that he won't elaborate on. It's all the little things. And the problem with Dolphie on the perspective of someone trying to prove that he's not legit is like, you can't prove any of these fucking little things. It's just like, what do I even believe? And what Nico said, it's too late now. It's been like 3 years since he verified Tartarus, so like, it wouldn't even matter now. And he's 100% legit in today. So it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
I
Doesn't
do
matter.
want to get that
Exactly.
screenshot eventually. I believe I did send it to you, Blue, but the one where he's like, I pitched up my clicks to sound cool. That was one of the funniest things ever.
That's
Anyway.
so funny.
I'm not gonna lie though. They did sound really, really cool pitched up. So, listen, I get it.
Did it? Chad.
Honestly,
Yeah.
they do sound really good. But yeah, during that time too, I won't lie. I think, unfortunately, a lot of the things that like we resorted to, and I'm talking mainly not list team people who are involved in that, is we sort of divulged in sort of like a tad of trolling. I won't lie, because what happened was he wasn't giving us anything. So like I remember someone who I won't name just sent him like Coretta pitch down, like slow down to 0.75 like perfectly, and just sent it to him. Like that was like their response. He's like, no, I won't give you this. So they just sent him like, does this sound familiar? And they just sent him that audio file.
That's so bad.
Like how's like it was just like a brick wall back then. So it's very funny to look back on.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I think a lot of people aren't really considering is that the sounds and pitch and like timbre of a click can vary so much based off of
Offset
where
up.
it is like on your
Yeah.
desk.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
like incredible, especially with his grip. That's something we know way more.
Exactly.
Nowadays.
No, I use
His grip
the same
changes
grip
so
as him, and
much.
it varies drastically.
Yeah, you can legit move your mouse slightly, and there will be no bass, or there will be bass, because like
Exactly.
it's honestly so interesting, and we didn't know that back then. Like 100% transparent.
I'm not gonna lie,
Like, we had
Nico.
no idea why.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, I don't know how the fuck you guys didn't take that into consideration. It just seems like common knowledge to me, because like
Well,
I
'cause
just
back
I
then,
just
the thing
know that
is that
sound and material.
At the
and-
time, there were some pretty bad misconceptions about how hack detection worked.
Yeah,
And there kind of have been up until like even around the space thing. We had pretty bad understandings of kind of how certain elements of things worked. But, you know, in 2020, you know, clicks weren't really like, did you know clicks weren't a requirement until I think sometime later that year? Like
That's
there was
crazy.
literally no development in how to like sort of incorporate analysis of clicks and stuff like that into hack detection. So I really don't blame anyone for sort of dropping the ball there. But
Yeah.
you know, assume the reason you're bringing up Dolphie here is because I was involved with that drama, or not that. Yeah, I mean that drama. Yeah,
That was
and that was
why.
really the first thing that kind of put me on the radar as like a person in the community. I remember that video getting like 3,000 views and me being like, "Holy shit, I'm popping
Yeah.
off right now." And you know, like it was the first time where I'd ever really had community sort of attention, and ever since then I've sort of stayed true to that part of what sort of got me popular, or not got me popular, but you know, put me on the radar, and I've been pretty thoroughly involved with that ever since.
Yeah,
No, that's super dope and deserved.
the reason I brought it up, I knew you were involved, but I didn't know to the extent. I brought it up because I was just curious to see the other side of the coin, because Nico and I just think that he definitely hacked something, and you're the other side of the coin, and I always like getting both sides.
I mean, I'm not that firmly on the other side. I felt very strongly about this in the past, but
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
I
back
also
then.
wasn't on the list team. I wouldn't be on the list team for another 6 months, and you know, I didn't really have a good understanding of where you guys were coming from. And you know, now that you've sort of brought some of this to light, I can definitely see where your argument comes from, and I will
Yeah.
concede that it does make some sense. But you know, I believe that if there's not super strong evidence that something happened, then it's not worth like slandering someone over it.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Actual
Also, you know what's funny?
environment.
It's funny.
I'm not sure if you were ever told, but I remember after the whole like your video came out, like it was being shared around with all the people in the exposal thing, and we were just like, because at the time, funny enough, your video indirectly caused Dolphie to not make an anti-exposal, because he had told us, because we were saying, hey man, you're not giving us anything, like we gotta.
Oh, I was in a server with him and some other people about it.
Yeah, he was like, and we were telling him like, we're gonna ban you for not giving us anything. It's like, okay, it's okay. You can ban me. I'm gonna make an anti-exposal. And we're like, all right. And then like your video came out, and everyone like.
Well, it was me
you-
and Pablo actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, also, like he was the main person, I think.
Like that video came out, and sort of everything died down. He was unbanned, and like everything just sort of stopped on that nature. And Dolphin never had to say a word. It was
Yeah.
so funny. You again indirect, and also I'm very glad because you have been. This is because I've known you forever, but you are really smart with like anti-cheat and like finding out
Yeah.
if people are cheating and stuff like that. Like you're really really good at it. So I'm very glad that like even over the years you have gotten like the recognition, even if it's like just on the list team or whatever, for being like
and
as smart as you are.
Because there's a lot of things that I'm really proud of when it comes to sort of hack detection and stuff like that. And unless, you know, I've been the main person involved with that for the past 3 or so years, and I've managed to keep a pretty tight ship. For instance, this is something that I can probably talk about at this point, but it's no secret that metadata is a thing that we, you know, as Buffbat said in his paste spin, something that we consider when we're looking at videos. And when I figured out this method, the first thing I did was I wanted a really large sample size of a lot of different people using different recorders. So I specifically told the daily challenge people that I was going to handle tomorrow's daily challenge. And what I did was I was like, oh, you have to give us an unedited recording of this super easy challenge I made, and you have to do it in one attempt. And I got like hundreds of recordings that I was able to sort of sift over and see general patterns with, and nobody ever knew what that was about. So like, I don't know. I just am very passionate about making sure that people are legit, or not that people are legit, but that hackers are kept in check. And I think I've done a pretty good job of that overall.
Yeah,
no,
I think.
for sure. And, yeah, no,
Sorry.
go ahead, Blue.
I think the problem. It's not even really a problem. It's just a problem with people. The thing that sucks about being involved with the demon list is that like you guys do a lot good, and there's a lot of trust within the establishment, but it's always like when you guys fuck up, it is just like bashful and this and that.
Yeah, everybody shits on.
And look, I don't know shit about the demon list. I've never been a part of it. I don't have insight.
Yeah.
I just go off what I'm told, and I form my opinion based on that. But I mean, you know, you have a lot of knowledge with the demon list. You own it, right? And
Yeah,
it's done a lot for the
well, I'm
game.
part of that, yeah.
If there was anything that you could like force change, or if there's anything that you wish you could do differently now and in the future, would you do anything like immediately, and do you know?
It depends on what you're talking about. Is this
Just
like right
generally,
now,
like,
or yeah?
just
The
if you
thing I
could think of
change right now. This is a super minor thing, and I know a lot of people might disagree with me here, but list percent has got to go. I think that it's a pain in the ass for us to check. It kind of incentivizes people to just like drop a level if they're already going to get points for it. It gives people an easy way to get list points by like getting to the second spam of Silent Club. Well, not anymore, but in the past. And I don't know. I just don't really. I think it's harder to beat a low extended list than it is to get list percent on a low main list, because you actually have to deal with shit luck and the experience and the struggle of beating a low extended list. And that just doesn't exist if you're just trying to get like 60%, because you can just keep playing that and eventually you'll get there. But beating it is a whole other mental factor. And I don't know. Like personally, I just don't submit list percent. I've had one ever, which was 69% on Necromancer, and I submitted that, and then I just beat it a couple of years later so that I wouldn't have it on my profile. Yeah. And I have like 76 on Sakupin, and I don't particularly plan on going back to that in the near future.
Circles?
But I just don't give a fuck. Yeah, Sakupin circles. And I'm just not going to submit it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because it's stupid, and I don't want to be a part of that.
Also, did you hear Riot's flaming hot take from last week?
Get me. I intentionally stayed out of that, but so you're gonna have to.
I wanted to hear if you had any thoughts on it. I hope I don't get this too wrong, because it's been there's been just so much. Yeah. So basically, in the context of a challenge and something really challenging that isn't based on a motive of list points and leaderboard position, he was suggesting the idea, a very extremist idea, of literally just deleting like more than half of the list and deleting the stats viewer. And trying to, and in the context of the incentive not being list points, which isn't a bad thing, by the way. We didn't say that last episode, but people just fucking assume that, they just make assumptions about anything that we don't say. It's fine if that's your motive. That's perfectly okay. But he had a very interesting argument about abolishing list points and cutting the levels to, he said 10. That's not what I would do.
10 is insane.
But yeah. I would also, do like 50 or 30. But
I do want to say also, he more was on the whole stats viewer thing than shortening it. The main point was sort of getting rid of list points, because he thought, as well as like the stats viewer, just because he believed there was a community that unfortunately built off of it that was negative, that only valued themselves off of points, or like what you said, people will go for list percentages on levels just for points, and that as a validating factor, which was never even intended by the list, has caused negativity. And I guess sort of just, what do you think on that? If that's a good or bad idea?
Well, okay. I'm going to ask you a really quick question. Who do you think the top 3 best players are? Right now.
All time or right
top
now?
10?
Right now.
Right now.
Top 3?
Yep.
Completely getting rid of any sort of list points or whatever, right?
Just who are the best 3 players right now?
Well, definitely number 1 is Zoink.
Yeah.
By far.
Mm-hmm.
I want to argue, this is going to be really weird for me to say, but I'd put like 3, maybe like Vision. I would probably say Septa because he's so dedicated, but like he unfortunately hasn't finished anything. And for 2, it would probably be if Curse didn't quit, but he did.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say potentially Cursed if he started playing the game again. I believe he would be number 2. So I guess that's my very weird and very personal top 3. I know I completely get rid of like half of the people would usually be like, oh, stats for your top 3, boom, boom, boom. For me, it's really just like how fast people are able to do things, like beat levels, how dedicated somebody is, and what they're able to accomplish with that dedication. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was basically, with that question, I was looking for you to say basically anything except, in this order, Zoink, Trick, and Thunder. And then if I ask for top 5, Cobra, Blitz, and Skizzle. And I don't imagine anybody would have that as their top 5, right?
Yeah, this is where it gets weird.
The point that I'm trying to illustrate is that most people who are involved at the very best like reaches of the community, or not the community, but the stats viewer, know that the stats viewer doesn't really, it's its own sort of kind of thing. Like, I would say the 3 best players right now are probably like Zoink, Pop-Off, maybe, and then like Trick, maybe, which is very different from what the stats viewer actually looks like. And I just don't think that people treat the stats viewer as law to the extent that Riot thinks they do. Like, I think that the culture is around being good at the game, not getting list points. It's just that people want to play hard levels, and they might as well get list points at the same time. So I think that Riot is sort of conflating the inherent competitive aspect of the list in the first place, which is kind of inherent, I think, with the stats viewer, and I just disagree with that comparison personally.
Mm.
On a more utilitarian level, I would say that it's really good to have the stats viewer because it means that people they have a direct incentive to play levels, even if they aren't extremely interested in them. If list points are what it takes for people to play levels, give opinions, and make the list more accurate, then I will gladly keep it there. And I think that it would significantly decrease the rate of records being submitted and thus the strength of placements if we were to get rid of that.
Yeah, it's just a really like. And another thing that we also didn't say last week is that I don't even, this goes without saying, but people still think we think that the current stats viewer doesn't incentivize challenge, and there's no, like, that's just not true. Like, it does. And what Riot was arguing was that just something completely different. Like,
yeah,
I think, yeah,
oh,
keep
sorry,
going.
continue.
No,
you continue. No, I insist.
Okay. I think Riot was just going off of something that, you know, obviously he believes in, and he came from such a different time too. It's so much different. Mm-hmm. Like he never grinded shit in 2015 for list points. That just wasn't a thing. So from his perspective, it just seems like a logical, like a semi-logical way to go about, like, if you really want, because another thing, there's also no way to know. Like they're really, like if the list deleted 80, 90, 100 levels tomorrow, like who the fuck knows what would happen? Who knows if they would actually incentivize even harder levels to get pushed to the top?
I don't think it would. I think that the best thing that could be done to promote, and personally I'm in favor of this, to promote competition would be to just buff the shit out of like the points that things from like top 10 to 1 give, and have top 1 be like 700 points. That's what I would do personally.
That seems like a solution.
So I guess that goes back to what we were saying earlier, where I said the only thing I do is get rid of list percent. But that's the other thing. If you're trying to get list points right now, the best strategy is to kind of go in the 25 to 45 range, because those levels, you know, you can knock them out really quick compared to the more difficult levels, like kind of in the top 10, which give which give double the points, but require like 5 or 6 times the effort, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. As far as verifying top 1s, I don't think that would have anything to do with the stats viewer. People verify top 1 if they want to, and it's been happening for years. Zoink verified Avernus after he got number 1 and thus had no real incentive to keep doing it. He verified Avernus, he verified Tidal Wave. He's verified 3 different top 1s, and none of those have had anything to do with the stats viewer.
That's a good point.
You know, we're seeing Alpha Helix playing Flame Wall. Tiago has gotten to the drop of Banshee. I think that personally, it just has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, that's okay.
I agree. I think one thing, I'm not gonna speak for Riot, so I'll speak for myself, but more with the stats sphere stuff, I think what a lot of people didn't get last time, or I guess also we'll just say, like, it's not more the fact that the stats sphere is the all evil and is why everything is happening for whatever reason and completely ignoring all the things that are actually happening. It's more the fact that there has been a community created around it that wouldn't be there. Even if it is like the 20, even if it's not like a super big percent of like the players that are playing the game, I think that it does weigh on some people. And I guess I may be a bit biased in saying that because personally I know, like, for myself as the weird player that I've always been in this game, where now looking at, for example, if you look at where I am on the list, because people see it like, oh, you're verifying Death Corridor, and like if they look up where I am on the list, they'll see that I have nothing, and I'm like, what? I'm like 1,900 or something. And sometimes, like, even though it's stupid for people to base their opinions based off that stuff, and I'd say, yeah, most of everyone who plays the game and is good at the game doesn't. It's just the fact that people do, which is not even the intention of it. That's more of why, like, that, I guess where that viewpoint more comes from is the fact that it can exist and sort of does, even if it's not like the general part of the community, because it isn't. Like, it 100%
So
is not.
let me throw something out here. You're talking specifically about list points and stats viewer here, right? Not like the competitive scene of the game. So I'm in the chat for people with list points a lot. And or in the Demon List server in general, I'll see people be like, oh my god, I want to get list points and shit like that. And I think that Riot sort of thinks that the stats viewer is harmful for people improving and getting better. I disagree. I think that there are a lot of people who, if list points never existed, wouldn't care all that much about having beaten a list demon. And then when you beat a list demon, you're like, oh my god, I want to get say 200 list points, and then you can keep improving like that. And for the most part, up until you get to like top 50 or so, I'd say that list points and skill are pretty strongly correlated, and it kind of gives a good sort of, it's a good way to sort of track where you are, I think, even if it gets a little bit shaky kind of at the top, which I think is for the best, because it means that, you know, if you want to become the best player, you can beat a bunch of really hard shit really fast. You don't have to beat like 50 different main lists to be seen as the best, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, like I agree with that 100%, especially since I guess one thing though is more, I guess
I'm
I don't
back.
know if I'm not gonna say for Riot, but for myself, like I remember during those times, and those times as in like way before like the list was super popular and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's more like the want that players are, I guess, more come off as more passionate in a way like doing
The
things that
past or
are
now?
now. I'm talking more of
Yeah.
like people who really push themselves beyond their limits like constantly versus I guess sort of from an outsider's perspective looking in is sort of just like there's a group of people that will just do this and then the next thing because it's like oh, it's on my list for doing this for this reason and they just do that and I feel like a lot of people especially like Riot who did like Bloodbath and all that crazy shit is just sort of like you sometimes want to see people shoot for the stars and when you see people that aren't and are doing it for if it's points or whatever even if it does like boost the competitive nature and 100% there's definitely players that wouldn't be where they are like without it it just sort of comes off as I guess less interesting for outsiders, I guess. Which
Yeah,
obviously
no,
isn't
that's
I can
totally
see
fair.
that.
saying.
Can I throw something out there though? I
Yeah, I wanna
saw
say this
Riot
real
leave a
first.
reply talking about how like, oh, the current stats viewer and the fact that it exists is out of line with how the list used to be when Riot was like running it. When Riot ran the list,
It was so
nobody
long ago.
beat Bloodbath for like a year.
Yeah.
Nobody verified something harder than Bloodbath for like a year. Like nobody fucking beat things that were that hard. Nobody shot for the stars except for like maybe Kermal, maybe Blast a year later, maybe Stormfly, right? So it's just a completely different like I think that the way in which people sort of see how the old list was is so drastically different from how it actually was that it really sort of calls into question whether it's a point worth making for me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
it's
fair.
fine.
I think with the old list, what like a lot of people don't get, because times are so unbelievably different, is I guess in relation to what he said, it's more like there's way more emphasis on the people who are shooting for the stars, especially since, like, again, yeah, people weren't beating super hard shit back then, because there wasn't, other than like attention, there was no like real reason to, and also during that period of the game, like we like 1.9 was getting out of the era of like hating anything that was hard. Because the community like
Oh
pre
yeah.
1.9, if anything was hard, you got dislike bombed. You had 10,000 dislikes on your level. Nobody
The
liked you as a
community
creator.
also just like wasn't real until 1.9 though, is kind of the thing. Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
such a disorganized, like it really exists in like the Korean forums, GD forums, and like kind of Skype back then. Like
Yeah, it was friend groups and friend groups. That was it.
fragmented, weird community back then that I just think that I kind of just feel like it's a little bit dumb whenever people are like, oh, anything before 1.8 can be compared to now. You know?
Yeah, no. I'd even argue 1.9 because even then, like, keep in mind 1.9 as someone who like really started playing during that update. I had like been incentivized to play it because I originally started seeing videos that like Dashi was uploading, PewDiePie was uploading, and then like I started watching GD content. Like I started watching Wio, and I was like, this game's really cool. I'm gonna get this game. And like
Yeah.
that was during the era of most people were joining the game because they saw like their favorite YouTubers were playing it. This wasn't like now joining
Mhm.
GD like if people aren't joining from like unfortunately like TikToks and stuff, which I don't even believe those are real people who are like joining the game for that. Like I don't think anyone joins GD because of TikToks. You
Oh,
join
people
this game
definitely do.
nowadays. You join this game nowadays because of like most people see like the new number one demon or like how hard this game is and they're like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm talking like obviously people join from TikTok stuff, but I feel like it's more people join because of the competitive nature, I guess, and sort of like what's the hardest thing you can do. Versus then it was just like, oh, like I wonder if I can pass Stereo Madness. Like
Mhm.
and even now like the TikTok stuff is all like 10 levels of difficulty where it's like the hardest thing ever on Earth that no one will ever do, and like this is their exposure to the game. Versus
Exactly.
back then, I used to see Dashy play on his spacebar and die to base after base and like throw a hammer. Like that's what my experience was with like.
Exactly. The
like,
game is so serious in every regard now, which I don't think is necessarily a
That's
bad
not a
thing,
bad
but
thing.
it's just so drastically different from
Yeah.
like when people were kids, and I think people get nostalgic
I was
over
gonna
that,
say
but
that,
also there's to an
yeah.
extent something to be said about how much more casual everything was.
Yeah, and I will say because of that, I guess the sort of main point was comparing anything from that era to now is just impossible. Like even if like I come from that era, Riot comes from that era, and whatever, even if like it's old gen takes whatever out of touch, quote unquote, all that sort of stuff, it's just sort of like it's impossible to take those circumstances and everything that happened then, apply it to now, and think it'll work the same. It's just
Yep.
sort of like a
Yeah.
fuck around and find out thing.
I just think, and I'm gonna actually talk about something really quickly because someone said this in chat. Someone said to ask me about list mods taking a month or longer to place a level. No, we don't. The deadline is
month.
exactly a month. If it takes
Yeah.
any longer than that, unless it's like a 2-player level or like a mini game, then we place it. We play
Yeah.
I literally don't think we have missed that deadline in the past like 3 years.
I think when
continue?
actually, I was gonna say when Riot, like I had talked with Riot after all that, like the day after, and I remember he read like a tweet saying like, well, it doesn't take 3 months. He's like, oh my, he said it was like he was being hyperbolic, and that was it. But yeah, like in relation to that sort of stuff, like oh, it takes over a month. I think he was just more, he misses, which again, I'm not saying if I agree with this or not, but back then, because it was so like everything was so its own little community, and again like people weren't super interested in the hardest levels. Like when something got beat, boom, it's on the list, easy. And I guess it's just like now people, I think more of that take that he said that comes from it comes from more the hatred of levels placing, and you have no idea what they are or why they're just taking up space. You have no idea what the hell they are, versus like, and then blaming I guess the length it takes for them to be placed. But in my opinion, honestly, and I know like people might not be the happiest with this, but I think currently, as someone who is like has always followed everything that has like placed on the list and whatever, nowadays I open like Pointer Crate and I'll scroll and I'm like, I don't know what half these fucking levels are, and I watch them and I don't care.
See,
Like,
here's the thing. I think the extended list fucking sucks
that's
right now.
what I'm saying.
Dude, what is a collect all pets? What the fuck is that?
I only know that level exists because I constantly check. And I mean, like, I'll check maybe every 3 days or so. I'll go to Extreme Demon and check rated. And I saw that, collect all pets, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then
What the fuck is that?
That's the only reason I know
what
it
is a
exists.
beyond hell? What is what is a power grid? Like, what are these levels?
You know what's funny about that though, is even though it's all like, and I talked to this with Frostburn actually because of the whole tweet stuff that happened on Twitter. And me and him just had like a back and forth. I ended up saying like a lot of that sort of disdain that ends up like being shoved onto, like, again, it becomes sort of, I look at it and I see all this and I'm like, damn, the list sucks. But it's not the list. The list just places levels. And it honestly, the actual issue is the fact that these fucking levels get rated. You know what I mean? And now because they do, they get incentivized for the list. No, like it's sort of like, I'll say this and then whatever. It's more, and you can say that I'm wrong or whatever, it's fine. But for me, it's like I see a lot of, or my interpretation is I see a lot of creators who are making levels on purpose just to basically be on the list and be like, I made a list demon. And then they think that that means anything, and what ends up actually happening is their level gets placed in the extended list or whatever. No one cares. A few people beat it. It falls off and everyone forgets it ever existed. And I just like hate that.
Here's the thing, is that's kind of just the unfortunate truth of it, you know? The sad truth is that there are some levels that are going to be made specifically just kind of as a one-off, so that, because here's the thing, if you want to make an extreme demon and your goal is to make that extreme demon something that people actually play and doesn't get like one victor ever, then the best route that you can take is to either make it a really, really easy extreme like Aku, or to make it an extended list. Because those are the two best ways to advertise your levels, and people will play them. And you know, I think that's obviously a little bit unhealthy. And it's why I prefer the main list, because those sorts of levels really don't exist. They're basically all serious levels. But that I think that's just kind of how it has to be, and there's really nothing that we can do about it.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's
no.
like, sure, this level, like, technically we could stop rating things that are potentially list worthy that aren't very cool, but also the thing that I think, because I know that you've talked about like wanting rate standards for stuff to kind of be a little bit higher when it comes to some extremes, but the problem that I have with that is that I really don't think there's any good way to do that without also making it so that levels you do want to be rated won't get rated. You
Yeah,
know?
like that sort of stuff with rating is so complicated and difficult, and I feel like a lot of it, honestly, I've just kind of gotten to the point where I think like the rate system, like the whole demon rate system, just get rid of it, go back to how it was before.
Oh, no, the way that it was
Because
before is a lot worse because kind of what happens now, to my understanding, um, is that demon suggestions that's the channel, right?
yeah, yeah,
They go
Yeah.
in, all the mods vote. Viper tallies up the votes and is like, Rob, here are some levels that have passed the vote system. And then he doesn't have to play them or anything. He just has to go in and he just has to hit rate, 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 rate. And I would really be surprised if he's actually playing these. And that's kind of the thing, is that Rob is the bottleneck of why the rate system has to be the way that it is. He doesn't want to rate things faster, and lowering standards means that there are more levels to rates. And
Yeah.
so the way that rate standards work isn't something where they are artificially formed or something that has specifically been decided on by the community, but rather something that has been formed based off of the rate that Rob inherently rates levels, and that only so many levels can pass because of that. And so that threshold is set because of that. If Rob started rating twice as many levels, then the rate standards would go significantly down. It's
Makes
just kind of
sense.
how it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
What I want to say is, I guess in relation to all that stuff, because I've done, unfortunately, a lot of talking about this with a lot of people. I think with the whole rate stuff, it's so obviously complicated and whatever. Nothing really that I said say will change shit. But in my opinion, with everything, I guess, is sort of right now a lot of people, including myself, aren't the happiest that everything sort of seems to be fed through a filter. And even if that filter, like, is like the mod team and stuff, and like, let's be real. Like, as someone like myself who makes super hard levels and shit, and like the easiest thing I've ever made is Cat Planet. And I think second easiest that's like rated is what? It's Fever Dream. And to think that like anything that I'm making is being like judged off of how it plays and all the things I actually put so much effort into, and then it just sort of is like, no, get rid of it. Like I will say Stellar Knight, which I know is kind of like me
Oh, rate
beating a
Stellar
dead
Knight.
horse.
That's your best
Yeah.
level. No
Yeah.
cap.
But like
I'm being serious.
again, when I made Stellar Knight and everything, and I spent like fucking 3 years on that level, I spent so much time and effort on it, and I did that, and it came out, and Lexi literally made a replacement song for it, and then I'm like, I know that if the community just decided to get up and fucking throw like, rate this level, and then Viper's like, okay, I'll show it to Rob, and then Rob rates it. I know that would happen in Stellar Knight, and it's just sort
Yeah.
of disappointing because this filter exists and it doesn't account for people like myself, and I guess it sort of feels bad.
What do you mean
because
by like yourself? What do you think?
people
How would you
who-
categorize yourself?
I would categorize myself as sort of, I guess, extreme demon creators, specifically more for myself, like top extreme demon creators, because we spend such an absurd amount of time. Like, I'll say Eternus as an example, but I know for a fact, like me and Riamu have like over
Riamu?
Liam,
Is that how it's pronounced?
Riamu,
Riamu.
Is it
I-
Riamu?
I just call him Liam. So, but with Eternus, like we have, I think collectively between just me and him, and I know Pluff has done so much as well. I believe we have like 300 to 400 hours just in the editor, just like fixing gameplay and stuff, and like making everything perfect. Like, we spend all this time on this to people who are going to be like deciding if if Rob's ever gonna lay his eye on it, and like they won't ever play it, and I don't blame them, because like I don't expect someone who like their hardest demon is like a harder insane demon to be playing Stellar Knight and giving their informed opinion about how they think it plays. Like, no, that's silly. But it's just sort of like when people like myself categorize as like extreme demon makers, specifically hard level makers, like
Yeah.
mainless, whatever. It feels unfair because it's like our demographic, the group of people that our levels are made for, isn't being shown or decided on by those people. And I think
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
my opinion more about going back to the old system, even though I agree, like, was the old system worse? Yeah. Is the way that the current system working currently proved to have like benefited? Not really. Because before,
Definitely has. No, I can specifically go and, as much as I think the demon system in its current way is like bad right now, I think that there's no
can be made
way
better.
in it can be definitely made better, but it's already a lot better than the Rob system. Because the thing is that the advantage of this system is that a level goes in, the level is played, or not played, but voted on, and you get a predicted, or like you can predictably and reliably know, okay, I will know if this level will be rated or not within like maybe a couple weeks. And that's a good thing. I think it's really good that there is a way for you to, as a creator, not be left hanging for like over a year and kind of know, okay, well, yeah, this level failed. And
Not
I think that
all
there
the
are
time,
ways,
though.
I think that there are ways that this can sort of be, I think they should be more transparent. What I personally think should happen with the demon system, and this might be a little bit controversial, is this. Rob should stop looking at the levels if they've passed. They should just automatically be rated. That's the first thing I would do. Second off, I would have it so that the verdict is posted to Twitter if it's really close, just so that people have an idea of like, oh, this level has failed. I need to stop expecting it to get rated. And then third of all, what I would do is have Rob look at like a couple levels a day that were the closest to passing but still failed the vote. That way you can sort of not increase the workload on Rob while still being able to sort of lower the bar a little bit. If mods might have some sort of bias towards a creator or something like that, then Rob is a good way to sort of step back from that and have someone with slightly lower standards take a look and decide if it should be rated instead.
Right.
I honestly think that's a good idea. Like, honestly, full honesty, I think that's a good idea.
I've been
since
wanting to
all of
say
my-
this
Yeah.
for like a while. I've just been listening. Dude, I mean, yeah, I agree with that completely. And the system is objectively better than it used to be, but I think what rubs me the wrong way as somebody who tries to advocate for objective to a point fairness in rates and stuff, which is like weird sounding.
This
but
is
know
you
what I
who does
mean.
this?
I mean, it's just my mindset.
Sure.
Just because I come from being an ex-player who used to grind, and I came from a period of time where we all appreciated levels just because we thought they were cool before it got really, really serious, and before everything got systemated. What rubs me the wrong way, it's just a personal thing, like the levels that don't get through, the ones that would be like top 5, top 10, whatever, it just fucking annoys me. From somebody who just wants to see like the difficulty progress, it just fucking pisses me off, man.
Yeah.
Like tidal wave,
See-
like, ugh.
Ooh, tidal wave.
Okay, I've seen a lot of people who are like, the gameplay in Tidal Wave is so bad.
It's good.
This because it's a top 1. No, it's not. It's good gameplay. Everybody who's played it thinks it plays well. So I'm just going to ignore that part of it. Second of all, I think that the way in which the mod team exists right now and the type of people who are mod right now are not at all going to be favorable towards extreme demons, especially shit like Tidal Wave. They either don't give a shit or look down upon players. And I think that everybody who is in the playing community kind of needs to realize that the game and the way that it's headed is kind of actively antagonistic against them.
Yeah.
And, that fucking sucks.
It's
and there's
so
really not
fucking
much that can be done about it, right? But the thing that bugs me about people who say that Tidal Wave has bad gameplay in the first place is that I'm gonna get my favorite example is Erebus. I remember watching C's video and seeing everybody in the comments talk about how Erebus is the worst thing that I've ever seen. The gameplay is terrible and inconsistent and downright evil. No, it's not. It's pretty good. It plays pretty fucking well. And once people started beating it, they were like, oh, it's good. So I don't think gameplay should be like ever a bad thing. If something has good gameplay, then it should definitely help a level get rated, but something perceptibly having bad gameplay should never harm its chances of getting rated, because a lot of the time when people actually play it, they'll be proven wrong.
Can I say something about
I'm
Erebus?
going to bring up one example that you're really going to disagree with, Ice Cave.
I know it is.
Which is Avernus. Diamond's been playing it. He's got like 130k or something like that, and he doesn't hate it. He thinks it's pretty good, all things considered. And I wasn't a huge fan of Avernus, but I've taken a step back and I've looked at it, and now I'm a fan. And I think that the issue is that the rate system is sort of built against that, and these negative biases, because of the fact that people are specifically able to go, no, I think this level should not be rated. And if enough mods who, again, have no interest in this system, don't have any stake in these levels getting rated in the first place, are able to specifically go, I don't want Rob to see this, I don't want this level to get rated, they shouldn't be able to do that. I think that the negative like, I don't fucking know, man. The rate system is just a mess right now. The general state of the game for being a good player is pretty shitty, and I think that tidal wave and other things that I know we're going to get into pretty soon, I think speak pretty well for that. With that in mind, I'm going to go piss.
That is very fair. Also, I'll say,
Are we gonna do an ad read? We got a break. Ad read? Ad read?
ad read?
No, we're not sponsored. Never mind.
Yeah, no.
No,
We're
yeah.
sponsored by-
Ad read, everybody. Ad read, ad read. Membership's now available, guys. You can donate and you can become a member by clicking the join button. Get access to free perks
He
like
put up the screen.
get access to free perks like early dates
Nothing.
on episodes and nothing else because we made it the other day. So
True. Also,
we're selling out. This is crazy. Yeah, we have a little break to be.
goofball right now.
Yeah, I got a lot to
my,
say.
My ad read right now is if you are like, please, can people just start playing Smash Bros. Melee again, please? Like, please, it's so fucking cool. Can some of you guys just like look up, like, just watch the Smash Bros. Melee documentary? I promise you, I want at least one Melee player out of this stream. Please.
You know what I'm
please.
You know what I'm gonna
Yes.
say to Paqoe when she comes back?
What?
I'm not sure if she's
Wait,
aware
wait.
of this. What?
I was gonna say, for playing Ultimate, no, fuck that game. That game fucking sucks. It's not code sucks. The online sucks. The characters are boring. The combos are shit. And
Okay,
Steve
hi.
fucking blows. Sorry, I was going on.
Paqoe, I have something to tell you.
What do you have to tell me?
You know what's even more impressive about Erebus playing good?
What?
That shit was the gameplay was made in like 2 days.
Yeah,
Ilrel
no,
literally
it was-
speed
What's
built
goated about
it.
it though?
And it's 2.0.
I was like, here. let me say,
Yeah,
I wanna
that
spit-
too.
I want to spit in relation to
Welcome
everything
back.
you said.
Thank you.
So, a bunch of stuff to say. First, I'll start off with the Avernus one. With Avernus, I do think a lot of my hatred for it stems from a lot of outside factors than the actual level. Like, the main reason that, and this sort of applies a bit with Tidal Wave, which, by the way, I do think that level should be rated.
Mhm.
I guess I'll use Tidal Wave as the best example. Tidal Wave, I've played it a bunch. Like, it's good. Like, the gameplay is good. The difficulty, like, for how hard it is, it's well balanced. It's well paced. There's nothing that, like, I die to where I'm like, this is fucking stupid. No. The level's good. And I'm very, very happy. And I told that to Zoink, like, I'm not sure if you did all this or whoever did this, but whoever did this they did a fucking good job.
Yeah.
And, like, even if the decoration's kind of like, I could at least say, is it unique? Sure. My only, like, hatred towards that level at all, it comes strictly from the fact that, like, the person who made it for a completely different reason for what it is now. Like, they made it as a top 30, and now they're relishing in the fact that it's the new #1, and that, to me, as a creator, on a personal level,
Yeah.
like, that's something I look at, I'm like, you're building levels for the wrong reasons. And as someone who's been creating hard levels for such a long time, I look at that and, like, you're doing this for your 10 minutes of fame, your attention, whatever. You did this for the wrong reason, and I don't appreciate that. The level's fine, but I don't necessarily like you as a creator.
That's totally fair.
And with
No, I
Avernus,
completely understand that.
with Avernus, and again, with all that said, like, I want Tidal Wave rated. But with Avernus, oh my god. So, let's talk about how it was made as a quote-unquote antagonist to the Golden for no fucking reason. It has nothing to do, like, it's just... The
It is similar
similarities...
to the Golden.
It's
It's similar a little bit.
It's a cool sequel in my opinion. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I like the
That's fair.
deco.
That's fair. For me, I don't like the decoration because, like, it was very clear to me that the host literally said, "Here we have like a red sort of like hell theme going on with like a bit of lava. Go for it." And every creator did their own take on it, and it fucking meshes, in my opinion, meshes like garbage. Like, parts will like go from one part to another. I'm like, where's the fucking style? Like, what were you going for? Like, they all individually, and I'll say this, all the parts individually I like and can appreciate. They look good in their own ways, but all together,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a fucking mess. And
That's honestly fair.
for
It's
me-
grown on me a lot, but I totally see where you're coming from with that.
yeah, and with that, and the reason that I'm saying that mainly is because I know that the hosting process was complete and utter shit. Because the host basically said, like, do whatever. That was the entire thing about Avernus. Do whatever, and that's why Paqoe Winfish, the totally real person, said that it was a failed experiment. The whole level was a quote-unquote visual bug. And they told Zoink, and I asked Zoink in private, I said, like, so what was, like, Avernus like? And he's like, did they tell you to do anything? They're like, no, just, they told me, like, make it hard, and that's about it. Which,
Yeah.
as someone that, like, for me, who's done, you know, Slaughterhouse, Sour Night, whatever, and, like, Super Hate Me World, literally Cursed was making changes to Super Hate Me World that made the level, like, so much harder, and I said, undo that. He's like, what? I'm like, get rid of it. He's like, why? Like, I could do it consistent. I'm like, I don't want the level to play like that. I don't want that in my level. Because I'm
Yeah.
very keen with what I want for my projects, and that I follow along with basically every change made ever. And that's all I say. Like, I'll give people freedom that I trust. Like, with Doggy and
Mm-hmm.
Grief, I'm like, I've talked to Doggy about this before. I'm like, you can change whatever, just pass it by me. And that's exactly what I told Tuggy for Stellar Knight. Do whatever you want, just pass it by me. That's all I ask for. And if there's a
Yeah.
change I don't like, I step in. But with that project, do whatever the fuck you want, and it shows. Like, it shows, and even if the level doesn't play like complete and utter shit, it plays decently in my opinion. And keep in mind, a lot of stuff I don't like about the gameplay is like strictly that it's the hitboxes aren't the best, and in some areas, like, you know, the pillars in the wave where the hitboxes
Yeah.
are sticking on the outside of the pillars. I'm like, who the fuck builds that and is like, yeah, this is a great idea. Like, no. And that's coming from, again, Eternus work, whatever. If you're trying to make something difficult, that is the fucking worst way to go about it. So there's stuff like that that
Totally.
just pisses me off as a creator. So I view Avernus and why I hate it so much just purely out of the apathy of the creation of that level, and sort of just how little care there was put into anything. And if you play that level with show layout, some parts like are built, they're so hollow, they're so empty, there's nothing there, and the optimization for the level's garbage.
Oh,
So
the
it wasn't for that
optimization is
reason.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so optimization's horrible. There's
Like,
parts
dude,
that
okay, look, I fucking love Triplash as a creator, but he should not be the person involved in optimizing his own part.
he got
Like,
very good at it later on, like with Grief, because I worked with him. He got
Yeah.
really good at optimization, but no,
Really?
for Avernus, like,
for
you
Avernus,
know,
his part is like 25k. I've checked.
with in Grief, he was like, people don't know this, but the end screen, the dragon head art was actually made by 3 people. We got the art commissioned, and
What
then
was this for?
for Grief, the end screen,
Mm.
the dragons. Basically, we had to get the level done for before GD10 because I was so concerned as someone who had been hosting and like working on the level with the team for like over a year. I'm like, if fucking 2.2 drops, I'm gonna be so pissed. This level needs to be done before 2.2. And not
Yeah.
saying that we rushed it, but for stuff like that, I was like, I'm gonna do one of the dragon heads. Triplash, you're gonna do one, and Endy, you're doing another. So we had all 3 people working. Mine was the least optimized dragon head. Triplash was second, and Endy was first. And Triplash on his
Obviously.
own part would show me like he really utilizes now like rock structures to make everything super low object. He's not Endy level because Endy like from APT is like he's a genius with optimization, but he's a lot better. But for his part in Avernus, that whole level is optimized like garbage. And if you watch a show layout thing, shit's just floating in the fucking air. There's no actual platforms for like. And I made a bot, and this is so extremely nitpicky, and it may come off
Yeah.
as petty, but I made a bot that literally I found a secret way that lets you skip 30% of the level, and I played almost the entire level wrong. If it was like in mini, as wave, whatever, like intentionally abusing every little thing, not to prove like anyone will ever do this. No, no one will ever do this, just to show the lack of care. Because anyone who
Okay.
actually spends the time on the level, like myself, you're not going to find a way, a secret way, or how to do a part completely wrong in Slaughterhouse. You never will, because I spent all the fucking time in the world making sure that you play the level properly. And if there's
Yeah.
little things that come up in verification, they're fixed or whatever. But with the furnace, I'm like, oh, you know the dual click, like in the intro, there's the wave and it turns into dual for 1 click. You don't have to hit that portal. You don't.
Oh,
Why?
okay.
I don't know, because they didn't care, and
Yeah.
that's what pisses me off the most about the level. So that's why, like, when that got rated, I'm like, dude, this is the most boring, apathetic creation ever. Garbage was not tested, and the verifier was told to do whatever the fuck they want. Like, that's the main reason I actually hate Avernus as much as I do.
That's fair.
And I
So
take-
here's my thing
yeah.
about that. I completely understand where you're coming from, and I understand why the lack of care and these external factors matter to you. But the way that I see it is that if we start letting external factors like that stop things from getting rated, then in the eyes of people who are responsible, who think that every top extreme demon is lazy and bad and awful, and that none of them have any care put into them, then if everybody on the mod team adopted your mentality, nothing would ever get rated. So my thing is like, yes, these things are technically true, and I'm not huge on that, but I have to put my bias aside and go, yeah, I think this thing should be rated, because I think that it's more important to kind of not starve the top community like that than it is to sort of impose somewhat arbitrary standards for levels for
Yeah.
outside factors outside of what the level actually is.
Yeah, I want to note that I don't believe that those external factors should be something taken into account in terms of rating, because again, it's not it shouldn't matter. If there's no like secret way or whatever, rate the level. And I'm glad that like that shouldn't be taken into account. It's more of like in my terms of why I thought the level being rated was like not a good thing was
Yeah.
strictly because like everything put together, like the specifically the deco and the fucking hitboxes and everything like that. I was just like, I don't know. For me personally as a creator, obviously it means more to me than it does the average person. And
Yeah.
keep in mind
No,
with
I
a lot
totally
of
get where you're
levels,
coming from.
and a lot of levels as well, I do want to say, even if this is like my personal opinion, as someone, if I had to sit down and decide on a level being rated or not, I 100% will look at something. I could give them so much criticism, so much shit I would do differently, things I don't agree with,
Yeah.
but I can put it aside and say, there is redeeming qualities, there are things that are done right, and this level hasn't like a right to exist or whatever, like everything. And like I can put that stuff aside. I guess more of the stuff with that was I've thought that being sort of like, and it's so funny now to look back on. I'll say why in a minute, but like, I was like, I don't want this to be the new precedent. I don't want this to be the new normal and what's incentivized, because that being rated to me proved to myself as someone who spent so much time and effort that I don't have to spend any of the fucking time or effort that I do on my levels.
Well, sure.
Like,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, but here's the thing, though, is that if every mod, right, woke up and was like, we should stop rating things like Avernus because of the reasons that Ice Cave had laid out, then like fucking say goodbye to Tidal Wave ever getting rated. Say goodbye to Banshee ever getting rated. Grief, I doubt if that got rated, because in the like it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about how I think that it's totally fair to have your own personal thoughts and opinions on levels and shit like that. But if you think the level looks good enough and is like cool, then like I just think it needs to get fucking rated anyways,
no,
because the second you let these sort of biases in, they can sort of be abused by people, or not abused, but used in a way that's different than what you want them to. And I think that sort of anything that's like, oh, Avernus shouldn't be rated because of the precedent, even if people like mods took that to heart, it would go the wrong direction.
oh yeah, no,
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
No, like I completely agree. I think more with that sort of stuff, that was definitely like a one-off, because I've never felt that way about any other level to ever come out ever. And I was gonna say like why it's funny to look back on now is because I was very scared of like the image of that being the face of the game. And now, like, as it is number one, nobody gives a shit. That's the funniest part, is that at the end of the day, even if like it is rated and whatever and all the gripes I have with the level, nobody cares. And that's what puts a smile on my face, because I'm like, it proved to me that
All right, Thanos.
as a creator, you still need to try. You still need to do.
Yeah, no, see, that's the thing.
things
People care more about
anyways.
Limbo, Cockmock than they do fucking Minus Dry. Not saying Minus Dry is a bad level by any means, but, you know, the care and love that was put into it is a lot less visible than it is with Cockmock, Limbo, fucking... I can't even think of another example off the top of my head.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I will say, though, the one thing, I guess, in terms of myself personally, and I could speak for a lot of other creators, unfortunately, is because we'll see stuff like that get rated, and it, like, honestly, it's just, even if it's not intended and it shouldn't even be taken this way, it is such a fucking slap in the face to everybody.
Sure.
Who, like, at a
That's
top
fair.
scene level, which keep in mind, like, and people can probably interpret this differently and take this the wrong way, but, like, generally with top levels, it is a very small group of people who do it, because it's a very small group of people who are willing to really take the time and effort into making something worthwhile, as well as being able to actually do it. Like, I know, especially with the current people that are representing the mod filter, as I'll call it, would not understand the levels of effort that I myself and others will put into making sure that these external factors or whatever are good.
Yeah.
Like, again, 300 fucking hours in the editor of Eternus right now. You think that's reasonable for anybody else with like a brain would be like, why are you spending hundreds of hours in the editor for gameplay alone? We're not even talking about decoration. It's because we care and we're the ones that are capable of doing it. And especially since that level is supposed to be like lasting for like 5 years, like not even being verified anytime soon. I need to do the same shit with Grief. I need to spend with that huge level, fucking 230k objects. It's like almost 3 minutes long. I'm gonna have to go through the whole thing, fix every little thing, make everything consistent, make all the gameplay feel fair, balanced, and somehow interesting. Like, very few people can do it, and it sort of shows, and that's why it's like when I put so much care and other people like Riot put in so much care and all this and that, and it's just
All
like
that is
it's
just
for nothing.
lost. Is kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Is like
We need to move
I don't
on
know.
after this, by the way.
Like
Yeah,
right now,
I think
with,
probably.
right now with the filter, it's like none of that is even like it doesn't matter, and it's not that it should, it's more that it's extremely disheartening and sort of depressing that it isn't.
Totally.
Like
Yeah,
again,
that's
like
That's what
fair.
I was
like
saying.
with Stellar with Avernus, like look at Avernus rated, Stellar Knight unrated. I was there, I was just like, dude.
Can we swap Tidal Wave and Avernus? Like, can we just shift the rate over?
That's what I'm saying. Can we just like have that level still? Like, I guarantee, I know for a fact that it has been voted on twice because of the
Yep,
song
it's been
being
voted
made.
twice. I know Blitz resent
I
it
just
like a
don't
couple months
fucking
ago,
get it,
and it just
man.
wasn't sent or wasn't rated. It's sad.
It's-
I don't know. I think part of it is that I go out of my way to make sure I'm watching really high bitrate videos, like 4K and shit like that, if I'm looking at the level. And Stellar Knight is a level that's really benefited by it being high res.
Yeah.
Because there are so like some parts kind of look like a layout with white outlines until you look at the level with higher bitrate or go play it in game, you know?
Yeah, that's one thing that all levels suffer from. Especially, you know what's funny, by the way? Red levels in general, not red levels in general, but they suffer from it the most. Darker levels, I mean. Darker
Mhm.
levels in general suffer the most from that because of one thing also, and it's not even bitrate that can fix it. Sometimes with rendering or recording or whatever, especially your monitor, your phone screen, your fucking tablet, your TV, I don't care. The brightness that is set on those devices will
They
shift
all
and
dictate
vary.
what you think of the level.
And yeah, like you will literally. I remember the biggest thing, and this is so funny. Hypnosis had one of the most grueling tasks for me because I had made that color, that very, 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 very specific shade of blue. You know what was the most frustrating thing about building that level? I have
Just
two
wrong
monitors.
monitor settings. Yep.
Yeah, my 240 hertz monitor, my main one, and my 144 hertz one, my other one. I sent screenshots of the level to my friends, being like, "Oh, what do you think of this?" They're like, "Oh, like I'm not really a huge fan of the color," and I was like, "Fine." I was like, "Why?" Like, whatever. They're like, "Oh, it's like too purpley." I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? And then I like open the image on my other monitor. I'm like, "Dude, this is no longer a shade of blue. This is a shade of purple." And
Yeah,
like
no, my
stuff like
monitor is
that.
the same way. Blitz
It's so
can
annoying.
vouch that I use pretty different monitor settings from what like people on like mobile are going to see. Not to a drastic extent, and it's not just for GD, but I think I watch levels and I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool. I love that I can see things. And then I go onto my phone and I watch the level and I'm like, wow, I can't see anything because this is so dark.
Yeah. Dude, phones are the
And if
worst.
if I ever try to make anything like Photoshop or editor related, I have to turn off those settings, and it is so fucking weird looking. My monitor
Yeah.
isn't dog shit. It's insane.
I
It doesn't
will
look
say,
bad. You look bad.
We gotta move
people,
on
like,
after this, like for real.
I will
Yeah.
say last thing then is with the I remember like if it was sending like previews to friends before like, I was working on like a collab or whatever, I'd send them parts and be like, it's too dark. Or like I get comments on like Grief or stuff or like, oh, it's too dark. I'm like, are you watching on a phone? They're like, yeah. I'm like, get off your phone. Because the
True.
phone, if you watch a level, this is for everyone watching by the way. If you watch a darker level on your phone, have fun fucking seeing a single thing. Like phones are the absolute worst for like I don't know what
So
it is.
bad.
They're just awful. Please, if you're gonna say a level's too dark, if you have a computer, just boot that shit up, watch it, and then see. Because if you're watching it on your phone, boom, there goes everything. It's gone.
Yeah. No, it's so bad. Okay. You want us to move on?
Yeah, I want to move on. So
Okay.
next thing we have is, what do you think is going to happen to the game, the demon list, and the overall
Ooh.
difficulty
It's over.
shift during the dawn of 2.2 with 240 physics and arguably a backtrack in what all the players are used to at the top level? What do you think
Okay.
is going to happen? And if it were you in control, what would you
stance
do?
And arguments for this have shifted and still are over the past couple of weeks. This is
Yeah.
a topic that you can really get a lot into. So what particularly are you looking like? Can you be a bit
kind
more
of
specific,
general,
I guess?
like, what do you think is going to really happen to things like the demon list and levels and the way players play things during the dawn? Like, once 2.2 drops and we go back to 240 physics, like,
yeah.
and because
So
there's a
I
bunch of
don't know-
levels verified with 360, whatever. I'm not knowledgeable, so
Yeah.
you are.
So I don't know about anyone else, but I'm going to be playing Fortnite when 2.2 comes out, and I'm not going to be playing GD during
Yeah.
that time because I don't give a fuck, right? But See, personally, I think that the absolute worst case scenario for the demon list is that we allow some sort of GDPS in perpetuity for 2.1 levels if we decide to not allow any sort of physics bypass or something like that. There's precedent for this with the fact that we allow 1.9 bypass or 1.9 GDPS completions, and it's kind of just the only reasonable way to not make everything backtrack and to not make prior achievements completely inaccessible. That does come with its own problems. Like it means that you're kind of having to compare opinions on 240 versus 360, which is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And it means that like objectively harder levels will place below objectively easier ones, just whether they were verified on 2.1 or 2.2. So that sucks. I'm
Sounds like a
personally
mess.
I'm pretty strongly in support of a physics bypass, and I think that the idea of separating the list just increases the stratification and the sort of schism that 2.2 will create in the playing community even more, which is why I'm personally against that. But I just think that the idea of, oh, we're going to remove every level or every record from the list that is on 240 or anything above 240 is just stupid. It requires so much effort. It requires us to completely reshuffle the entire list, whereas with this, we can sort of maintain some semblance of continuity. I think it sucks. And personally, I think that the changes for how the playing community will be, and I'm talking the upper community, because these changes are pretty good if you're not particularly good. I think they're good if you're not someone who's insane, right? But if you're really good at the game, then this update sucks. It's not very good. There are a lot of really cool things for creators, for like star grinders, because there's new icons, new achievements, stuff like that. Or people who are just kind of getting into extreme demons. But if you're firmly there and you've been playing on 360 for years, then you're kind of fucked. And I think that we should try to do our best to make sure that players don't have to dread the update and are able to enjoy it just as people in the creating or grinding part of the community are able to.
Yeah, that's something that
Preach
also can relate to hard. It's horrible.
Okay, do you mind if I just take a second, because I had an obscene amount of liquid in the past, like
Yeah,
being on this
we'll do an
podcast.
ad read for a
We'll do an ad
sponsor we
read,
don't
yeah.
have. Yeah.
Thank you.
I had to do a bathroom break too, but I didn't say
no
anything
way.
because somebody
Go,
commented that
all
I'm
right, I
interrupting.
got this shit. I got this.
Okay, go for it.
All good. All right, guys. Welcome to my podcast. I'm officially taking over. As you can tell, nobody else is here, so I can say whatever I want. First of all, as I was saying earlier,
Hello?
no,
Hello?
ignore that.
Hello?
Ignore that. So,
Are you gonna let me out?
my propaganda will start now. Stop playing. If you play Smash Bros and you don't play Melee, what are you doing? Go to Melee. Buy a fucking adapter. What is this? What is this called? I forget. The Mayflash GC controller adapter. Buy it. It's like, I don't know. It's not
You're
that expensive.
actually speaking tongues. None of that shit
As I
is
was
in
saying,
the Bible.
Then you buy a GameCube controller. You could buy it on Amazon or eBay, whatever. You're gonna buy it secondhand because you have to, because these shits were made so long ago. Get one. Get it modded if you're really serious about it. I don't recommend it at first. Just please do it. Get Slippy. It's free, but again, you need a legal copy of Melee. And then once you have that legal copy of Melee that totally exists, then just play online. Get into the game, please, because I am so cheesed that not more people play this game. Okay? And if I can convert one person who plays any other Smash game to play Melee, I would have done my job. It's just better. It just is. There is no game. Okay.
you're back?
I don't,
Alright.
my propaganda.
Nico
I
was
was
just
sitting there for like
away.
10 seconds just listening,
Oh,
just hearing in.
damn it.
Anyway,
okay.
back
Well,
what
my
we were talking
brainwashing
about.
scheme's over now.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Sorry,
say
bro.
with all the
Melee is cool.
what?
I've never played it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I was gonna say with all the physics stuff, I brought this up before, I don't care. But there's something else new that I have to say. But first I'll say the thing I've already said. We've delayed Eternus. Yippee! We were literally in the group chat and it was so
He said
depressing. I'm
that?
like, hey guys, well, we're not bouncing anymore. They're like, why? I'm like, nothing we're doing is gonna fucking matter. Like, why? 240? And I'm pretty sure Liam just went, oh. And now, like, we
Yeah.
haven't done anything because there's nothing to do. And now, like,
Yeah, I
this
can
is
move the
new.
jet engine, sorry. It's a fan.
I was playing.
You can still hear it.
I was playing Death
What the
Corridor.
fuck?
I was playing Death Corridor, and now I have to sit here and, like, I haven't made a post about anything yet. But I'm playing the level still, and I'm like, should I wait? Like, am I just gonna try and rush before 2.2 to do this on 360, or like, will it matter? Will it get rated? Like, now I'm sitting here with all these questions of like, I don't know
Here's
what
what's
the
gonna
fuck's gonna
happen. First
happen.
of all, they're definitely not gonna fucking rate 360 levels. I would be really surprised.
That's just gonna be such a
Dude,
mess.
it's so over. I'm fucked.
Like I don't think this isn't something that I've heard from like any secret source or anything. It's just very fucking plainly obvious that that's not going to happen. You can talk to any mod and get their viewpoint on this and what they would personally do. And considering not only is someone probably going to like either Rob or Viper or whoever going to like artificially enforce these sorts of like 360, like we're not rating these 360 levels, but also mods aren't going to want to, because again, the average mod is someone who doesn't like the playing community, thinks that everybody who uses 360 is stupid, lame, and a cheater, and doesn't want to like encourage that. So it's just, yeah, it's a shit show. I'd really personally like to, if physics bypass ends up being a thing that is incorporated and we decide to allow it, and that ends up going against the rate system and levels verified on it don't get rated, I would personally not be opposed to just detaching our rate standards from the mod team in the first place. That's just my stance. I don't know where other people on the Demon List team go, but that's definitely a discussion that we are going to have at some point if we decide to take that route.
It's gonna be one hell of a talk.
Yeah, no, it's really shitty, because the thing about this, to me, is that it's really important to not let people like Viperin or whoever go up to Rob and go, hey, they've already changed their rules. They've already adapted to 360 or to 240. There's no need for you to implement any sort of option for 360 in the future. And I really think that Rob does need to do that. So I think that it's really important that we don't let up on having people use 360 just so that that argument can't be made. And I'm sure that at some point, someone's going to make some sort of thing. I did some testing just for the record. Did you know that you can actually fix the vast majority of jump pad related 360 FPS bugs for auto levels by setting your gravity to 0.01 or 1.014 times gravity? Like, I'm sure that there's a lot of different things that you could do to really make 360 consistent in 2.2. And I think that what we want to do is have it so that we have an option or a mod that we can show to Rob and be like, hey, this is objectively good and works basically the same as 240. It just plays better. And then at that point, you would hopefully have no reason not to include it. And I think that it's really important that even if it's kind of detrimental and not a particularly good look, that we continue to work towards that.
It is going to be,
because the thing that pisses me off about this update isn't necessarily the fact that this change is being made in the first place, but rather the fact that we have people who have been, whether they want to admit it or not, like one thing for me is people are like, oh, y'all should have known that 240 wasn't, or that 360 wasn't going to be allowed in the future. Levels have been rated on 360 for the past like 2.5 years. Bypass has been allowed for 2.5 years. Also, the community was basically forcing the list into adding that in the first place. And then you look at the GD awards, which are the picks for that are specifically curated by mods. It's not something like the people with the most votes automatically get in. They are specifically chosen. And I checked, and 2/3 of the videos shown clearly have a 360 FPS counter. All of them. There's no world in which you can possibly make the argument that players didn't have a good reason to think that some sort of leniency was going to be shown, or that an option for 360 was not going to be made, because there's just simply no argument to be made there. Yeah. And it's very easy to just say, oh, well, the mods didn't know that these levels were being verified on 360. First of all, that's a fucking lie. You can just look at the corner and see, oh, 360 FPS. I wonder what that could be. And second of all, that goes the same way, because then why would players know that Rob was planning, just based off like 2 Discord messages from 4 years ago, that he was going to make the cap 240 in the first place?
Yeah, people said that argument. It's just a fucking
shit. Yes, that's the prevailing argument, and has been since someone pointed it out a couple weeks ago. And it's also really worth noting that that was never the prevailing argument until it started being spread. Exactly. Everybody then retroactively has gone, oh, everybody knows that this was already going to be a thing in the first place. No, they fucking didn't. And it's just, to me, this is just a big fuck you from people who run the game and are able to decide these rules for us. And it shows that they have a complete lack of respect for a part of the community that, although the player count for it is pretty small, it brings in a massive amount of the attention and fame for the game, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Also, what Blitz said in chat, which is that people have been under the impression that legacy physics would potentially be an option And then Arb kind of went on and was like, oh yeah, they're definitely not being added, which is leaking, but I digress.
I will say the funny thing about all that is first with the argument of the whole he said this 4 years ago. Yeah, Rob said a lot of shit 4 years ago. Rob
Oh,
said
yeah.
that this update wasn't gonna be big.
He
4
plays
years
on
ago.
999 FPS, by the way.
Yeah,
For the
again.
record.
Oh, yeah,
But also
yeah.
with all the this is one thing that I really want. If anyone here, for some reason, if you're like fucking, I don't know, Vibrant's here chilling for some reason or something. If you're a moderator that's here for some reason watching, and you think that 360 is cheating or whatever, etc., 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 you have missed the entire fucking point of FPS bypass, didn't you? Because guess what, bitch? 360 Hz monitors fucking exist. The only reason that 360 FPS is normalized is because why did FPS bypass exist in the first place? So people didn't have to spend obscene amount of money on monitors for a
Exactly.
$4 game.
Yep.
So FPS bypass was there and then later allowed so that everyone can be on the same playing level. It's why there is a cap to make it reasonable. And people somehow, I said this on Twitter, right? And people were like, oh, 540 hertz exists, so shouldn't that be the new? No, you idiot. That's
Yeah,
not how
I
that
think
works.
I can explain this
it's
pretty well
making-
because I've argued this point a lot recently, actually, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
no,
Go
so-
for it.
So basically, the reason why the cap is 360, because I know a lot of people have been bringing this up, like you said, is because of the fact that there's a certain point where, first of all, we had no rule against like 360 hertz monitors at this point. So when the cap was 300, there was no objective reason we could give for why that's not allowed. So what we did was we went, okay, we're going to set this cap to 360 and then we're not going to raise it anymore. Why? Because what this allows us to do is it allows us to make sure that the list doesn't become too hardware based again, but on the side of people having good computers. Because the vast majority of people, a lot of people can run levels at 360 or use like well-made LDMs that will run levels at 360. But the amount of people who are going to be able to do the same thing with 540 FPS is a lot lower. So that means that either a lot of people, it's going to either become pay to win for hardware, or we're going to have to lower the shit out of our standards for LDMs, which nobody wants.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the
Nobody
reason why
wins.
the cap isn't higher. And if some sort of physics bypass ends up being made and somehow Rob and Viper do a 180 and decide, you know what, this is good, we should add this to the game, but allow it to make a lot higher, we'd probably raise that cap because 360 is going to basically be 90 hertz physics now and probably the performance of 90 FPS with the polling rate of 360, which is a good thing.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, the whole 540 thing, and like people don't get, which obviously, like I was in the call. I'm not sure if you were, you were on the list at that time or not, but I was in the call, like the official conference call for the list when like we were discussing if FPS bypass was gonna be allowed or not. Like I was literally there, and I was the one who was making points for the bypass. And it was like we had initially put in the 300 cap. And the entire reason we did that was, first of all, like 240 hertz was sort of like the high end stuff. 360 existed, but was out of the realm of like not only affordable, it was around $800 back then, as well as the hardware needed to run levels during that time at 360 were so ridiculous that we were like 300's fair. Pretty
Yeah.
much 60 hertz players can bypass the 300. It's a good multiple. That was the whole reason. And with 360, technology got better. So, now everyone can run things on 360. Sure. Do you think people nowadays can run top levels with like a shit ton of objects on 540? No,
I have a
not without a god
5900X
computer.
and I can't run a lot of levels on 540.
Because GD is one processor. Like, there's flaws with the game that don't allow it. And also, I want to say also in regards to specifically 540, even though it exists right now, I remember this was something that Vitesse told me years and years and years.
Oh, I have
years
another
ago.
thing. I have another point to make that I kind of want to inject, if that's okay, real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So I was talking with Dr. Joe recently just to kind of get his perspective on stuff, and he raised a really interesting point. And I was never really around these circles, but I'd like to hear this from someone who was. But I heard that people were threatened if they were in GS, they were threatened about using bypass, and that they were potentially going to be banned from GS for that. And I'm not 100% sure if that's true. I'm pretty sure it's true, and he was able to cite multiple sources that that's true. But if that is true, then that implies that there was a specific decision made by Viper and Rob to go, actually we're going to allow FPS values over 240. Just interjecting that on its own really quickly. No, not Luke, Lily. Other people. I don't want to name specific names. I don't think it's anybody in GS right now, but I do know that this happened. And given the fact that there are people in GS who have used 360 FPS and not been banned, clearly they changed their mind on that and decided that it's acceptable. So I'm just going to throw that out there as a separate thing for people who say that this was never endorsed or that players should have known better.
I will also say, in regards to that, from the time period of 2019 that I was sort of going to speak on, like, bypassing was viewed as cheating because the list didn't allow it. Naturally, like, if you used FPS bypass, like, even as myself, when I had a time period where I was bypassing, I didn't feel good bypassing because I felt my achievements weren't going to be counted by the list. I would have to, like, specifically list that I was bypassing, and like, again, it was looked down upon. So I'm not surprised if that would be true. And I was going to say with 540 nowadays, like, GD is 2.2 will fix this, but in 2.1, past a certain FPS value, physics calculation included, the game starts to break. The physics don't work properly. Like, I remember Vitesse told me this, and I won't be 100% if this is true or not, but I remember this, and so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I remember him telling me that in relation to speed portals, like, the slowest speed would be slower than normal, the faster speeds would be faster than normal because the physics calculations are simply
Yeah,
too
no,
high.
they're fucked. That's why I use auto music sync because there's a really good video that someone has made about this that shows that the scroll speed is just like it's faster. That's why like glow and shit like that sort of shifts if it's on the edge of the screen.
Yeah.
If you're
this game
using
has so many issues. It has
it's so
many
fucked.
issues.
But here's the thing, right? Okay, a lot of people go, okay, so if you ask someone, why shouldn't an option for 360 be allowed? What they'll either say is something about how they hate top players and why they should have to adapt. And those people I just ignore because they're stupid, right?
And wrong.
But the other people who will say that is because 360 is really buggy and Rob wants the game to be consistent. Here's the thing. In 2.2, the equivalent of 360 right now, which will feel and play like 360 does right now, is actually going to be 90 hertz physics, which are really not that buggy. There are a lot of levels that bug on 60 right now, and that won't be the case because they'll be fixed inevitably, but you'll never see something like that for 90, even though it's totally possible and could be done. And additionally, the performance will probably be the same as 90 FPS.
Yeah.
And the scroll speed will be the same as 90. None of these issues are going to be present anymore, and the game will be incredibly stable even on like 360. And the way that I see it is that there's no reason not to add it, right? There's a lot of people who will say some sort of non sequitur like top players need to adapt or something like that, which, you know, if they were the people who were able to make decisions, they would have never done this in the first place. So I don't think that's really relevant. But also there are easy ways to combat every single issue that could potentially be presented with that. And I don't know, I just feel very not depressed. That's a very dramatic, very disheartened. I think that's the right word.
Yeah, it is.
About the state of the game if you're a top player, and kind of the fact that if you are a top player, people who are responsible for the decisions behind the game will think less of you for it. Like, my kind of moment that really frustrated me was when I talked to an elder mod trying to figure out, this was like a couple weeks ago before the drama really got big, trying to figure out kind of what's going on with 2.2 so that we can sort of know what to expect and coordinate. And he was just like, nah, that's not happening. And it's like, fuck you, Jesus Christ.
You know what Riot said?
The funniest thing?
Hold on.
What?
Yeah, go for it.
You know what Riot said on the last episode?
What?
Actually, he said that about Demon List people. Never mind. Not relevant. Moving on.
I was gonna say.
No, because I thought I just misremembered something.
Okay. I was gonna say, with the one thing that pissed me off the most, and I'm gonna be real. First, let me say, I care about this game a lot. I've been playing this
Me
game
too.
since I was 12 years old. I've been an active part of the sort of, I guess, viewed as the like 1% if it's for top demon creating, which is my specialty, which is also such a huge part of the top 1% of the playing community, because who is making these levels? People like me. So when Vipren and like when he tweeted out like, keep in mind, like, we're factoring you guys in, like, don't get us wrong, like, we're hearing you, like, no, you're not. Like,
No,
basically, what he said was, yeah, we're listening, but fuck you. Like, no, and I was legit trying so, and this is the saddest thing, right? I really care, and I talked to a bunch of people, like, mod friends and stuff. I'm like, hey, can I just please, I went to specifically one of my mod friends. I said, hey, listen, I know that you probably can't do much, if anything, but, like, can I please just, like, start a conversation with anybody that can, like,
Oh, yeah, no,
Listen to
okay.
me.
I'm going to say something, and this is a little bit risky to say. And I want to preface that I am not talking about Blitzer here. I want to make this incredibly clear.
Okay.
But I have my sources. I know what Viprin actually thinks. I know the direction the game is headed for top players, and it's not great. That's all I have to say on the matter, and I can't say anything further than that.
Wait. Oh, I'm getting word that this was already taken out of context, and it's a clip on Twitter
Oh, no.
saying this person
But
sucks.
yeah, frankly, I just don't. I would be surprised in 2.2 if I have the motivation to keep playing the way that I have been. And that's all I have to say.
I wanted to
Yeah.
say with my conversation that I had, I was trying so hard to be like, I legit like sent, it was like text wall after text wall, because I've known this person for years. And again, he's a moderator who agreed with everything that I had to say about the whole physics change and everything like that. And I was just basically saying like, hey, like, is there literally anyone that I can talk to?
Mods have very little individual power is the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I was saying, that's why I was talking to him. I'm like, and the main point was sort of the fact that I couldn't. Basically, what I was told was, you're not going to talk to anyone about any of this because they're not going to let you.
No,
And,
the
like,
way
they
that
just
Viprin
won't.
sees this is just kind of people are annoying and stupid.
I
And
can't
Yeah,
believe
but
that.
there's
dude.
nothing,
I
there's
can't
no
fucking
worthwhile
believe that.
discussion to be made here. And if he sees this, then feel free to have a discussion about this, because I would absolutely love that. Please prove me wrong that you don't care,
Well,
right?
let me say
But
this.
I say this confidently that he doesn't care.
I want to say this one thing, which, I mean, hey, if people are going to take things out of context, put it on Twitter, and there's people like that are watching, please take this and put it on Twitter. Like, to any, like, if it's Viprin or whatever, whoever has, like, any quote-unquote power, who can actually do anything, can we for once, and I'm saying, like, literally for fucking once, as the 1%, if it's top creating, top playing this community, can, like, we have a back and forth and just talk for once?
No, we
Because
can.
No.
I just want to say, I want whoever this person may be, just say no, because we're very tired of trying our hardest to speak, to have a back and forth, have a reasonable discussion, discuss things, and try and work things out for the better of this game. And instead, we are forced to publicly go on Twitter and shit, make ourselves look like idiots.
Exactly.
And
That's the thing.
all.
is
That's
that
our choice. And then people get
the-
mad at us. They're like, "Why are you making this a public issue? Because I can't talk to anybody about
Exactly.
anything."
That's the thing. I
Just
have
please
like,
say, if it's Viper,
I'm
or
not
whatever,
gonna
just
I'm
say
not gonna
no.
name names, but I know this. The person who I talked to them and I was like, hey, can we figure shit out for 2.2? They have 2.2 access. They could give us the answers that we want, but they're not going to. And
Be
you
transparent.
know,
That's all I want
they-
them to do.
my problem is not only that, but I'm gonna go a little bit further again and say that I know that Viprin is definitely leaning towards pretty drastic measures with this whole thing. Again, not from Blitzer. I don't even think this source is from Mod Chat. But yeah, my problem is that what Viprin is kind of doing here is, I completely understand. I had a chat with a mod who is great, and I love him. And his stance is, I don't want it to be an option in 2.2, but I don't give a fuck what people use when it comes to physics bypass. And I think that'd be great. I think that we should sort of just be left to ourselves if it really comes down to it. So sort of manage our own domain, which is like about 200 levels, right? And I think that that would be great and acceptable, and I think that everybody would be happy with that solution. But what we've seen here is the people who are in power and able to influence Rob, including to an extent Rob himself, are then trying to go, okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my own viewpoints and the way that I play the game and try to project that onto everyone else as forcefully as I possibly can. And I'm personally of the belief that even if it's a little bit not unjustified, but unprecedented, we should do what we can to combat that, which is not a ton, but you know, yeah, I care more than when it comes to this stuff, I care more than anything about just the state of competitive play being healthy. And I think that with the way that people like Rob and Viper want to take it, that's just not something that can be preserved, unfortunately.
I want to say also, it's unfortunate because of how willing people like me and you, for example, and speaking on a lot of other people's behalfs,
And
how
me.
willing we are to like have a conversation and discuss these things and like change things for the better, yet we're completely denied access of ever doing so.
Man.
And it's frustrating because then we're told, no, you're being accounted for. Actions show otherwise, and we're just relegated to like hoping when we can be changing things and having like,
Mhm.
if I could sit down with somebody who can actually do something,
Just give me
I'd
5 minutes
explain
with Rob, man. 5
everything.
minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Give me 5 minutes. I'd fix all the issues that we're having with this stuff, and that would be the end of it. But no, that will never happen. And you know what's the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing? I don't give a shit if it's Viper or whatever, or RobTop himself. Do you think RobTop himself can dictate the people who are creating and beating the hardest levels in the game? Is that reasonable? Can everyone in chat, even I don't care if you're a moderator, I don't give a shit who the fuck you are. Do you think the guy is developing the game doesn't really play much because he has better things to do should be dictating on the 1% of the community that is making, creating, and beating the hardest levels in the entire game? The people who are spending hundreds
And
of thousands of attempts, who are the best, that are spending months and months and months of their time. This is the
And-
person who's making the decisions?
Nico.
Or Vipren? Like, I
Nico,
don't get it.
you're forgetting something. And
What?
has kept this game alive for years.
No, that's
In a niche
I think
sense.
that's a little bit
in a
much.
niche sense.
You'll
Okay,
also say,
yeah,
by the way,
but-
I want to
Yeah.
say this because, my God, I guess sort of, I won't say mod team. I guess Vipren, even though he's not. I don't want to single him out, just himself, because I know he speaks for like multiple. If it's Rob or whatever, he's always speaking on multiple people's terms. But
Yeah.
like, consistency, GD, consistency. Are we kidding? Can we like let's just neglect and ignore the
Dude,
entire
I think
idea?
those changes are really good,
Here,
personally.
no, it's not that. It's not that. It's the art. I think that the whole 240 physics things as like a base is a great idea. I think there just needs to be a 360 option, and I love consistency. But to basically argue that 360 can't be an option because of that is ridiculous, especially considering the fact that this whole game's history has been Rob fucking things up over and over and over and over and over. And again, remember when Rob literally made like Red World? You know that like slab block that's just
Well,
not
that
its
was
decoration?
like fucking 7
Yeah,
years ago,
I know.
man.
I'm gonna get to it. It's relevant in modern day, but like the fact that he turned a a physical block to decoration, changed physics from 1.9 to 2.0, breaking so many things, broke layered orbs, something that was pretty like well used in top levels, things like that. Continued to change the game over and over. To argue consistency, go play Super Hate Me World on 60 Hertz. Tell me if you ever get past the first jump, because you never fucking will. This level is rated. You can't do the first jump on 60 Hertz. Consistency.
Oh, okay.
Consistency. And also, by the way, any mod watching or whatever, if it's viral, I don't give a shit. Go fucking unrate it. Go unrate it, because the first jump isn't even possible on 60. Nobody cared. It is a rated level. It went through the mod filter. Rob rated it. We're arguing consistency. Really. Like, I'm fine with like 240 and everything like that. But if you're gonna sit here and tell me it's all about the consistency of the game, let's ignore the 8 years of you doing fucking none of that. Like, you can't ignore the 8 years of history beforehand. From the game's
Right.
release to now being a fucking shit show. Like, you're not gonna just universally fix it all in a single update. It's never gonna happen. Add 240 base physics, add 360 option, and keep in mind, we're only speaking for our side. You think there's not a 60 Hertz community that only builds levels for 60? For
Low
60
refresh rate?
calculations? Denouement? People who are like,
Okay,
even
that's
if,
like one
yeah,
fucking
I know.
level.
I'm saying, like, just as a point, that there even are players who do that. Like, everything below is going to be weird, and 240 calculation will break a bunch of early levels too. I remember Vipren saying 360 will break old levels even more. Yeah, 240 won't. I hate to break it to you, but anything
Oh, no,
that
no, no.
breaks...
The 2.2 changes are making it so that basically, okay. So right now, how it works is there are 4 times as many physics steps for whatever frame you're on, right? That makes sense to you?
Oh, wait, repeat that, sorry.
So right now, the way that it works in 2.1 is for however many FPS you're playing on, there are 4 times as many physics steps.
Yes, I know that.
That makes sense. Okay, so what's happening in 2.2 is that's being stretched out so that there are constantly 240 physics steps no matter what you're playing on, which is also how many physics steps 60 Hertz has right now. It's actually a really clever way to approach that and make sure that shit is less buggy. However, it doesn't account for the fact that 360 is allowed, and they should have done something about that years ago. And now it's a bit too late, I think.
Plus with steps in general, like currently how things work in 2.1, right? Because obviously like 2.2 works differently. But in 2.1, like all of the issues transition-wise, if it's like pads or portals, whatever the fuck, like 99.9% of the time in my experience playing buggy levels, if it doesn't work above 60, it doesn't work on 144, 165,
Yeah.
200, 240, 360. It doesn't matter past a certain value. You can fucking do it on 1,000. It doesn't matter. It's broken past 75 or 60. So the argument of, oh, but it's 360 will break it more. No, it won't. Like, and
Well,
even if it does, even if it
360 is a lot buggier than even 240 right now.
Yeah, but
Oh yeah, there's also the whole thing about how did you know that Bloodlust
Guys, one
actually
at a
got
time.
an official bug fix team update to make it so that it's possible on FPS values above 358, and that also resulted in the moon being removed at the very end of the level.
Yeah, I remember the moon thing. People were like, it was the Gru meme. Where's the moon? That shit was so funny.
The bug fix team was a very official thing. If I remember correctly, people who, like, I'm pretty sure UserCoin, I think is their name, was editing levels or something like that. And that is not someone who is a mod. So, to my understanding, he was just fucking editing levels and officially doing so.
Yeah, like,
it's so bad.
Also, I will say, I guess, final thing about my thoughts on the whole 240 thing.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, Rob is lucky. Rob is very lucky because if he hadn't done 2.2 for another few years and 540 or something higher was the new normal, good fucking luck. You got very lucky that 360 was close to where we are right now, because if it was anything higher, then this would have been even worse. And just to say, a 360 option not existing is like, why are you separating this community? Why? It doesn't.
I have one other thing that I want to bring up really quickly.
I'll say one last thing then. Just sort of, I talked to a mod friend about this, and it was so funny that we both agreed on this. I said, considering how disconnected RobTop is and how much he's been working on the update, because as like, you know, the developer should and stuff like that, I said, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Rob found out about 360 like a few months ago. And they said, honestly, I could see that happening. That is not like that thought being potentially a thing that could have happened. Because think about it. The rates are happening, all this and that, and then this is the complete opposite. I wouldn't be surprised if he just found out this shit happened last month. That is, yet the decision's being made.
Very RobTop-like.
I have one very last thing to say on this topic before we move on, which is that Poltergeist was telling me about this really interesting thing where in CS, when CS2 came out, the servers went from 60 or from 128 tick to 64 tick, which I don't play CS. I don't really know what that means. Actually. I just know that it's basically something that's less significant than 360 versus going down to 240. And guess what? Literally every top player did. They just moved to other servers.
Yeah, like I play CS by the way. Like the whole CS2 is honestly such a funny comparison because there's a lot of things that sort of changed that like it's sort of similar, oddly similar to I guess GD's physics change. But in CS, like people used to play on 128 tick on custom servers or whatever because the update rate was faster pretty much. If you want to talk GD terms, basically update rate was faster, things would register faster, everything happened faster. And Valve was still like behind on like the slower ones. And as a result, things felt more clunky, more slow, and people didn't like it. And then they moved to tickless. Fucking worst decision ever. It's like 64, it's sloppy slow, and sometimes you'll shoot through people, like, the hit registration's garbage, everything's different, because they decided to just completely rework the system and not account for the top of it, and as a result, it's just issues from the summit all the way down. And this is going to be the same thing.
I need to say something real quick. I gotta pee and get some food, so move on to the next topic, which is, actually, I'll start the question and then I'll just get up, which is not really host-like, but I really gotta use the bathroom.
Okay.
You get the weirdest fucking comments on your YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah. No, I have one example that I
says that and
leaves.
Wait. Do you have any absolute favorites? I'm sure you're about to say it, but I'm just making sure.
Yes. My favorite, this isn't as much of a comment as much as it is kind of a thing that happened because of a comment, which is that one time on a Slaughterhouse Progress video, someone said, I love how she spams at like 20 CPS in the break part. And then
I remember that.
It had 200 likes and 350 fucking replies about people arguing over fucking pronouns. It is insane. It's fucking crazy. As for the my favorite comments. One of mine is some dude was trying to tell me to stop wasting my life, and he accidentally said "stop Washington my life," and then corrected it in a later message, and it was so fucking funny. But yeah, dude, it's a fucking mess right now. Let me go into my YouTube studio right now and see the auto, like, not hidden, but auto held for review replies. And
I want to say one thing before I get up.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'm not going to tell you guys which one because this is going to be the viewer's job to find it. There is a localizer video that I commented, I choke myself to your videos, and he hasn't seen it, so now you guys have to go find it, but I'll be right back.
Holy.
I want to say while you look through that, by the way, just sort of as a side note, in general, I guess in terms for like you and all that sort of stuff that sort of relates to the comment section business, like specifically in relation to like pronouns, whatever, being trans, etc., etc. To anyone, if you're watching this right now or listening to this, whatever, if you give a shit at all about somebody's pronouns or how they choose to identify themselves, you need to fucking grow up and find other things to be upset about. Because it is honestly it's legit the most like you are 12 years old and don't understand anything yet, ever. And anyone who's generally above the age of 18 and thinks like that, I'm sorry, your IQ is 40 years old, you were sheltered, you're an only child, and nobody loves you. You need to learn to get outside and socialize a little bit. Because it's just so, and that being so, I guess, normal, like 250 replies about that stuff, shit like that, like, I'm sorry, grow the fuck up, please. And a lot of the time, funny enough, by the way, all the people who argue about like this gender, whatever, etc., 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 a lot of this shit is so nitpicky and garbage. Like, people are like, oh, but you were born this way. Yeah, nobody argues that. That's not the argument. Yeah, people nitpick it. No, like, they just nitpick that shit and they run with it. It's like, no, you're being brainwashed into hating a group of people for no reason. Which, guess what? That applies to every single time in history that any group of people, religion or like race or whatever, was hated upon was. It's always the same thing. We're going to nitpick certain things, run with it, and brainwash everybody into hating this group of people for no fucking reason. So if you're doing that, congratulations. You have an IQ of 40, and you need to learn to make your own opinions. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
It's insane. Yeah, no, people who genuinely get caught up on this shit are just losers. And
it doesn't even affect them. Why does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
If you are somebody in chat or whatever, or listening or whatever, and you see someone who represents themselves how they want to, and you get upset at that, you need to really take a long look in the mirror and wonder why you're upset that somebody else is having, like, being themselves. Is it because, like, just, I don't know if you're insecure or if you have problems at home or whatever, but like,
I'm back.
If somebody else is happy, why does that bother you?
Oh god.
That's it.
What did I miss?
I was basically I went on my tangent against people who are like transphobic and weird. That's it.
Oh, they care
Dude,
about like
look,
a random
here's the
YouTuber's
thing.
personality.
Yeah.
I have like 5 times more subs than whoever the second most popular trans person in the community is. But like, someone's gotta fucking do it, right? If I let people who are stupid, dumb losers, just like dictate how I exist on the internet, then what sort of message does that send for people who feel similarly to me, you know?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, they are all pathetic. Most of them are really bad at using grammar because they are either really dumb or children.
They're eating glue. They're literally eating glue.
They
I call
are.
them glue eaters, bro, because they're literally eating glue.
We should
I
have-
love it.
Carol thinks I'm the worst guest until Advi. Like, come on,
We
dude.
should
It's
have
not
paint
that fucking
after
deep.
this episode.
It's that serious.
It's
that
not
serious.
that deep.
Also-
like, dude, I don't give a shit.
Also,
When, like,
sorry if I'm
yeah.
gluttonous for the next like 10 minutes. Food just got here and I'm hungry.
Real.
This has
and
been the
Deco,
podcast
no, I'm
of
just like
bathroom
by
and
far
eating.
the like largest person who is trans in the community, and I
That's
don't
not
think there's
ego,
really
that's just
any.
true.
There's no debate to be had about that. Like, that's just the truth. I am the when you ask someone who is the trans person in the GD community, they're gonna say me. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, no, like,
It
that's
doesn't
not
mean
even,
it doesn't mean I'm measuring my importance with subs.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
measuring how much people pay attention to me, and that's a pretty good metric.
It's sort of.
How does it feel to be the good male victor of Silent Clubstep? Dude, at least I'm a fucking victor. Like, I
That's
don't
what
give
I'm
a shit.
saying. Again, like, I want to say to, if anyone, by the way, if you're in chat and you're like, after everything I said, you're still trying, you need to like get off of like your phone or your computer and like do anything else. Like, you fighting right now, you're like fucking crying at your monitor right now, like, no, my worldviews, my shitty worldviews. Like, get the
My
fuck
favorite
off
thing
the
about
internet,
being a
dude.
male, dude, I don't fucking know.
Can I say something like important?
Luke Carroll is a hater, bro.
I need to say something important about this kind of shit.
Go for it.
Engaging in it, like, if you don't care, is always funny because, you know, you can waste their time, they're losers, whatever. But for me personally, I don't even engage in that kind of shit.
Yeah, I don't respond.
Yeah.
I either just hide them so they don't make
And I'm
more
not saying,
stupid
like,
comments
you're
like
not,
that, or just
but-
don't respond. How many times a day do I think about biology? Less than you, man. Jesus.
Oh,
Like, I genuinely don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter. I just exist
gotta get
the
back
way
on
that
track.
I do. Thanks, Vision.
I want to say one last thing, I guess, is, like, if you are the type of person to be on the internet and doing this shit and whatever, and your entire shield, your entire personality is, I don't care. You do. You care more than literally anyone else does.
Also-
in fact, you are probably the one who cares the most out of anyone
Can I
here.
say something important? That mentality is not fucking helpful at all. That mentality is also harmful.
Stop. Can I say something? Luke, you glue-eating dumbass. There's 3 people in
There are
call.
3
See you
people.
later. Hide user from
Genius.
channel. That's the
Goodbye.
last thing you get to say is 4
Holy
people in
shit.
call. You
Genius.
can't fucking count. There's 3 people here.
Genius.
Anyways, you see, this is the shit I'm talking about. Whatever. That's so.
Dude, fucking crazy, dude.
There's 3 people here, bro. Anyways, please tell me about some of the comments you get.
Yeah. I'm
can-
trying to think of how I could.
I have a favorite.
Yeah.
I love this screenshot. I send it to people all the fucking time because, like, by itself is just so funny.
End it.
It's when I'll have to find it, but
No.
it's somebody commenting on a Slaughterhouse Progress just saying, like, I jack off to your videos. I thought that shit was so funny. Just isolated out of context, like, it makes me laugh so much.
Gender unknown is pretty crazy. I'll give them that. They kind of destroyed me there. But, like, dude.
I wish I got comments like that, low-key, because, like...
No, you don't, dude. It makes your comment section fucking unusable. Every
My comment section already
literally every
sucks.
day. I still have notifications on for, like, YouTube just gives me notifications for Silent Clubstep comments, and I leave them on. And, like, at least every day, I get some comments like, oh, why is this man pretending to be a woman? Why is he pushing trans rights and political bullshit into my geometrydash verification? And it's just like, Jesus Christ, man, who fucking cares?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you literally just exist and it pisses
Like,
people
dude,
off.
you are objectively leaving those sorts of comments just raises my engagement on my videos.
You know what I did
anyway,
one
so I don't
time?
fucking care. Like, there are 300 comments to that one reply, or 300 replies to that one comment, arguing about whether I'm a man or a woman, and like a good half of them fucking hate me, but are just boosting the shit out of that video. And now it has like 40K
That's
views.
the good part. That's the good part.
Also,
like, yeah, or just pointlessly arguing in the comments, so you have to pull it up over and over and give me more engagement.
Oh,
more
it's
views.
it's the top comment actually. Whoa.
No,
May- may
I
I
guarantee.
say-
By the way, I guarantee that someone's gonna comment on this VOD and be like, "I love the part where you guys talk about your favorite ice cream flavors," or something. There's gonna be 400 replies being like, "Actually, the military-industrial complex." It's like, what? What?
I want to say,
Like,
I
how
guess
did it get there?
I know I said last thing, but now last thing. When people say, like, politics, this shouldn't be politics. I don't view this as politics. Treating another human being as a human being shouldn't be politics. That should just be like, you know, like when you're raised as a kid and you're in elementary school and your parents tell you as a baby, like, treat others nicely. That's all it is, bro. Treat
Yeah,
other
it's just
people how
basic
you want to be
respect.
treated. It's
Respect.
like the most basic little fundamental thing about being a human being. And it's not politics. If you view it as, I guess people have made it like political because people have chosen to like hate a group of people.
When do
That
people
shouldn't
not
be
make
why it's
everything political?
That should just be
Yeah,
you
they're
are
the one
like a
making shit
loser.
political, dude.
Yeah, exactly. The people who are like being unreasonably like that just hate those types of people for no reason. They're the ones who are making it political. That's why it's quote unquote politics. So just don't view it as politics. It's just because it isn't. Just treat people normally.
It's
That's it.
so funny.
You know what I also think it is?
What?
I also think in the modern day and age, it's also a lot easier to just say things online. Because, like, 10 years ago, I mean, it was still pretty accessible, but it wasn't as bad.
Oh yeah, I've
Just
actually
the amount of
talked about
people
this
can
recently.
it's the amount of people that can say things, how quickly it can spread, and the way these websites like Twitter are literally like designed to make you go read something and fucking get mad at it. Like, it's all of these things that accumulate together, and just everything. Everybody thinks everything is a debate.
Yeah. No. See,
Like, when
okay,
it just
I have a.
isn't.
Oh, sorry.
I'm done.
Okay, I have a really interesting thing that happened the other day where Nepesta replied or made a tweet talking about how he was going to like start nerfing levels visually and have them be less like flashy and stuff because of his eye condition so he can play more levels. And I was like, I said slay, because that's cool and I respect that, even if it means his records won't be on the list. And someone was like, are you seriously saying that his medical condition means that these levels can't be accepted on the list? And then a bunch of other bullshit like that, and then said, I have lost all faith in the community. And I replied all caps LOL or something like that.
I saw
and
that.
Then fucking he made that his pinned tweet. He made an announcement in his server pinging everyone saying that he was nerfing his list demon collab to easy extreme because he refuses to partake in a list with someone who is so disrespectful towards people with medical conditions. And I talked to Nepesta about it, and he thought it was funny as fuck and replied in my defense.
Funny. It is. It's like just because of how ridiculous
when you're a big person in the community, especially number one, someone who has admittedly fucked up in the past, and number two, someone who has an identity that people don't like, you are held to such an absurd, like just such a crazy standard for what you are allowed to say without being acceptable. But then you look at everybody in my replies and they're all just awful because nobody gives a fuck about them. Nobody cares what they think, and nobody will remember them unless they are unless it's their friends who also think the same way. Like yeah.
Echo chamber after echo chamber after echo chamber.
It's
and also,
insane.
can I
like,
say online too?
My voice cracked.
You know what
really
people
bad,
do?
by the way.
I think
What?
this is something that I've suffered through a lot, and like I kind of hate it because I, for like the majority of my entire existence in this community, have always been someone who's been distant. Like my Discord's private. I don't talk to many people. I only talk to like a small group. Like I have literally the only GD server I'm in is one, and it's literally my own, which is just for friends. And like I've been so outside, and I've never wanted to put myself much on the internet. And this is the most, by the way, outside of streaming, is the most I've ever shown my personality ever. And before this point, and it's still something that happens now, like my levels and the very few things that I say make it so people will base their entire like view on me off of those small things, and people will just like hate me on a personal level. Like hope I die because I made a level in a video game. And it's like, dude,
crazy.
I've never met you, and the amount of hate that I see about me on the internet, about like if it's my personality or whatever, etc., none of like you guys haven't met me. We haven't had a discussion. We never talked. Like, and it's just so unfair and so like dumb to like form your opinion about this stuff.
I saw a tweet a couple months ago that really changed my viewpoint, which is that like you can be as nice of a person as you possibly try to be on the internet, and you can be like objectively someone who is like chill, and you'll still have what this tweet called them ant people who just attack you blindly and completely ignore any sort of reason in it.
Oh, Mr.
And it's
Beast.
just
Mr.
it's just
Beast.
pathetic. Like I think that they all of the people who think that you should die for making a geometry dash level are ant people, and they should be ignored because they're little ants and you don't have to pay attention to them.
Also, I want to say, because someone said in chat, what do you think about people who love you and haven't met you? There's nothing wrong like with, again, the people who like my stuff. I say my stuff because all I've done is post my videos, my creations, and things like that. So like people who like me for my creations, whatever, great. Does that mean like any of these people have met me as a person? No, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've intentionally done that on purpose. It's when people assume my entire personality, even if it's in a good way, if people assume everything about me in a good or negative light, you shouldn't be doing that because you don't know who I am. And
I'm gonna be right back. This is a great
yeah, it's all good.
You're doing great right now.
Yeah.
I was
We're
saying,
gonna go
like,
back and forth because I have stuff to say too.
Yeah, like, again, with people who, like myself, who intentionally do not make themselves super out there on the internet, it's just, don't do that. You know what I mean? And again, why do you think that up until this point I haven't been public with my personality? I just wanted people to look at the things that I have made, like it or dislike it, but it's very, like, it sucks when I exist, if it's even on Twitter, and I say, like, I post anything, and people like pick it apart and hate me and say all this that, and they assume everything. I'm
This,
like, dude, like
it's
what
an
on
internet
fucking
thing. It's
earth are you
literally
doing?
like it's
Yeah.
an issue with us as people.
Yeah, I
Like
was gonna say
everything
like Mr.
always.
Beast is the best example. Bro, Mr. Beast builds like does all this great shit. People like Mr. Beast is literally Satan. Like, dude, like what
Everybody
the fuck
always
are you talking
bases.
about?
Listen, everyone always bases everything off an assumption, and anything you don't say, they fill in for you as if you said it. I could go on Twitter right now and say like anything, literally anything. There's a great joke tweet that's several years old that explains this analogy beautifully. Let's say I go to Twitter right now and tweet, "I like waffles." Someone replies, "So you hate pancakes?"
Yeah,
No!
that's
Shut up!
Yeah, people
Please,
assume the worst.
stop.
Like what Graves said, like people assume the worst of people, and it's very true. And I don't. It's again, like you're right. It's a people thing, and
Hi.
Hey, welcome back.
hello. It's just sort of like hoping for the best, cause like obviously people aren't just gonna magically change overnight. But it's just I'm saying like on the behalf of like a lot of people, by the way, like if you think it doesn't like for most people like slightly get to them, it does. And I'll say like do you think there's a reason why I've intentionally not been public for so long? Because the more and more like that hatred sort of grows, like I believe 50-50 of the community, like 50% loves me, 50% hates me. And because of that, do you think I want to exist in a community in which like I don't feel welcomed? And I'm saying that like complete honesty. Interpret it how you want. You can call me an idiot for thinking it this way, but I don't feel welcomed in this community. Like not that much. Like people are like, "Oh, you have a lot of subscribers. You made Slaughterhouse. Like people know who you are." Yeah, but like half of the shit I see about me is negative and like really negative. So it's like,
Yeah, I don't
do you think that
understand.
encourages people to be more like spoken and vocal? No, it encourages literally just shut up, stay in your place, and people will just judge you forever silently. And that's what I've been doing forever. And I could say a bunch of other people that I'm friends with who are also extremely popular, quote unquote, and extremely influential, quote unquote, who do the literal same thing. The reason that they are distant and as far as they are is because of the same reasons.
Yeah, I get it. Something I want to say real fast before we shift the conversation back to our guest.
Yeah.
For me personally, like I get comments all the time about my voice. It is like my defining audible trait, right? Everyone always talks about it, and I'm fine with that. It is a very unique voice, albeit some people think it's unlistenable, which I think that's honestly
That's
a bit
silly,
much.
by the way.
That's a bit dramatic.
That's a
Yeah.
bit fucking dramatic. But I think it's important not to absorb the overly positive and the overly negative and have that change how you view yourself. Because you'll literally just never recover. You'll just get sucked into a wormhole.
Exactly. I
It's-
used to care so much about what people think
Yeah,
of me, and now
it's-
I've just realized that there's a really big overlap between people who don't like me and people who are also really annoying or bad people or otherwise unlikable. And then I feel good about myself because I realize that everybody who's actually cool is chill with me.
We can.
You
Well,
reminded
hold on,
me of
wait,
something,
wait.
Paqoe.
I
Yeah,
wasn't
no,
done.
go ahead, but I have something to say after.
We all three, have a big enough of a fan base to directly relate to what I'm talking about. And that's an important, if anyone is trying to get into YouTube, GD or not, it's a really important part of the job. Like, you cannot let comments get to you. Do not do that, or
Yep.
you just won't be able to do YouTube in that big of a scale. It literally just wouldn't happen. Like, the only reason I made a tweet like a year and a half ago. It was complaining about comments, but for not for the reasons people think. It's not even so much that people comment the exact same, like, canned, you sound like this or this or this or this, or clear your throat or whatever. It's the fact that it started getting to a point where more comments were that than the actual video I was even fucking making. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? Come on. Like,
It's
can you guys
exhausting,
talk
man.
about the video that I spent a fucking month straight making instead of listening to the first minute and being like, dude, you need to clear your throat, dude. Oh my God, I can't listen to you. What the fuck? Oh my God, dude, Jesse. Like, shh, stop.
You know what's also funny, by the
Like,
way?
just
One thing
please.
about your voice.
Yeah,
There's,
what is it?
I think there's like, I've known you forever. Like for me, like it's I literally don't hear it any different than anybody else's voices or whatever. But I find it funny that in my opinion, by the way, I find like Kendrick Lamar 10 million times more unlistenable than your voice
Dude,
could ever
okay,
be.
can I be
I'm
honest?
sorry,
I
but
hate Kanye's voice. I fucking hate Kanye's voice.
dude, that's one thing I was gonna
Same
get.
with
That's what I was
JPEG
saying.
Mafia. I can't stand either of their
With-
voices. I don't know why.
With voices, I'm saying there's some artists like I remember, and keep in mind, I actually like Kendrick Lamar's music. But my God, and my friend pointed this out, like
Dude.
my IRL friend pointed this out to me. He's like, I can't like Kendrick because I fucking hate his voice. And then I learned like, dude, people just like sometimes are like, nah. Like sometimes people just like you say you don't
Yeah.
like Kanye's voice. I love Kanye's voice. Like
Blue,
stuff like that.
someone just fucking destroyed you. You sound like someone said you sound like Badger from Breaking Bad.
Dude, that is original comment of the day right there.
How many times have you heard that out of curiosity?
Over 1,000, no joke.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
I've never
that's the
seen that
thing,
before,
too,
and I
is
thought
Over
that was like
1,000.
crazy.
When
Some people-
when people say this shit,
Oh,
by the
oh,
way,
wait,
in
it's
regards
okay.
to like anything, even if it's like Paqoe with you in your comment section,
Yeah.
we all hear this shit a bajillion times before you say it. Like we've already heard it. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Do you want to hear some favorites?
Go for it.
sure.
I've had people ask me if I drink soy. I've had people ask me if I'm trans, which I'm not. I've had people question my gender. Like, is it that bad? Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm just wondering. Like,
It's definitely a very unique voice. I'm gonna keep it a buck.
it is.
Yeah,
It is. And there's
But it's not.
some
it's
people
not
are
bad.
some people are just dramatic. Like, just don't watch the video if you can't listen to it without wanting to like punch something.
It's okay. One day, like.
And to those people, how your head is fucking ugly.
Full-
I don't like being in it. Leave. Let me leave.
Your head is full of concrete.
Your brain's actually filled with cement instead of spinal
Okay.
fluid.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, cement.
Moving on.
Moving on. Okay.
Oh man. All right, what do we got? Okay, so I'm not sure if you'll have any of this. You might. A lot of people do.
Okay.
If you have one, what is your absolute biggest regret in your career so far? And if you could do something differently, would you, and what? If you have something. Anything that stands out.
I actually have a lot.
Okay.
I think I have a good amount. First of all, when I was in high school, especially, I got the worst fucking sleep ever. When I beat Arcturus, when I beat Tartarus, when I beat basically anything like that, I was running off of like 3 hours of sleep.
Same, by the way.
I was a much worse player than I could have been. Second of all, I wish that I didn't let myself get scared by levels. I still do this to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Citra is a scary level for me, and I'm not even fucking kidding. Like, that shit is, I could beat that in 2 days flat, no problem, right? But it's scary. And I just let myself be controlled by like how scary I find levels. And third of all, I would stop. I don't want to, I'm pissed that I dropped shit so much, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Those are my 3 things I would say. It's just, and some of them are sort of ongoing, but those are my 3 main ones.
I have one, but I'm not the guest, but I'll say it anyway.
Yeah.
Getting hacked because I know it was my fault because I was downloading stupid crap.
Dude.
I don't know if you know about that. It was a long time ago. I'm not sure if you knew who I was back then. I'm fucking eating, sorry.
Blue Cobby, I do remember, yes.
So, in 2018, I kept downloading like Fortnite skin changers and whatever else and just
Fucking
no
real.
security because I'm a fucking idiot, by the way. I just kept downloading stupid crap and just putting it on my computer, unzipping, running exe files. And one day, my fucking channel gets hacked and the guy uploads like 20,000 videos in 2 days.
Impressive, by the way.
I know it's
insane.
my
You got to
fault.
work.
It's
A
my fault,
grinder,
but-
bro. He's on that
Bro,
grind.
that you can't say that hacker wasn't dedicated, at the very least.
True.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
You have to
That's how it
title all
is,
those videos, man.
Yeah,
That's
man,
crazy.
it's a hustle. You know, you gotta take the Chrome session token nowadays, and you gotta wait for it to get sold, and then you get a quick buck, probably through crypto, so it's untraceable. People who do that need to
crypto-
go to hell, by the way. Anyway,
Truth. Want to hear
Sorry,
my,
I got-
my biggest regret? Hear my biggest regret? Oh my god.
yeah, let's hear it. I need to
Podcast
eat, so
that
you
no one
guys
cares about.
should talk. I don't want to
Yeah.
be gluttonous anymore.
I'll say, my worst regret. This might be interesting the most because people don't. I know this now in retrospect, and
Mhm.
it feels even shittier to an extent. But I regretted mostly never being the player that I was supposed to be because I had literally almost done a top 10, which would have been hyperparacosm when I got 90%.
Oh, I have one other thing I need to say actually, as far as regrets
Go
go.
for it. Go for it.
That I didn't beat Tartarus when it was top 1. I got 91. I got demotivated, and I easily would have beaten it because basically what happened was I was on like a 3-week long road trip right when I was trying to beat it, and I played it like 6 hours a day because I really, really wanted to fucking beat it, and then it just didn't happen. And I never beat it when it was top 1. So I've never beaten like a true, real, objective top 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. And that also was like with me, with HP, because I could have done hyperparacosm. I just like didn't. And I found out that was sort of something that stemmed throughout like literally my entire career, quote unquote, as a player who was beating stuff or trying to. I'd play something super hard, make so much progress, so many impressive runs, and just never do it. Like I remember like again, I was the first to do a lot on Silent Clubstep on the Unnerfed, which again, people can look back at time and be like, whoa, this shit's easy nowadays. Yeah, but back then, like, it was really difficult. Like, I was the first ever person to do the 8 jumps. And, like, I spent such a ludicrous amount of time on that, but, like, I never really took it anywhere, like, I took nothing, may I say. I took no specific level to, like, the extent that I've ever should have, and to the point where I would have been able to, like, achieve things. Yeah. And nowadays, I know why. Because I had undiagnosed ADHD, and now I have it and have medication. So, but again, looking back on it, that's like legit. My biggest regret is not getting diagnosed earlier.
True.
So, yeah, it's something you want.
Yeah. Me? No.
Oh, I thought. Okay.
We can just move on to the next topic.
Yeah. By the way, kind of not really unrelated because it's GD. I fucking forgot that you beat VSC. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I beat that in Slaughterhouse. It's pretty crazy.
I'm sorry for your loss, by the way, on the VSC victory.
What's wrong with the VSC victory?
Your hand.
Oh, no, I'm chilling. I played it for like a couple hours a day. I didn't have a problem with it.
God bless you.
Oh, we got the question.
I genuinely found it really fun.
The only VSC victor with a hand still intact. Impressive.
I loved VSC. It's amazing. Genuinely.
We got the big question.
What's the big question?
What is your absolute most intense rage moment in all of GD? If you are the raging type, have you like broken a monitor, beaten the shit out of a keyboard? What? Let's hear it. Anything?
One time, I genuinely haven't raged at this game in a very long time. I raged at some funny game, Easy Demon, and punched the shit out of my hand and bruised it when I was like 11 now. That's it. That's my biggest rage moment. And I genuinely haven't raged, and Blitzer can attest for this. I have not raged at this game in years.
It seems to be all about mentality.
I just don't get angry at that. Like, I have better things to do than be angry at the game. And if I used to have really bad anger issues with Fortnite, dude. And what I realized is that when I let myself get tilted, and frustrated at the game, it's all downhill from there. You're gonna keep playing worse and worse and worse, and you can't let that start happening. And I just don't let it.
We got some Fortnite
if I die really far and I die somewhere really dumb, I go like, and then I move on with my day. Sorry. And I keep playing the level, and then I beat it like a couple minutes later or whatever.
I keep interrupting a lot. It's just you got me excited because I was gonna bring up Fortnite rage too because I don't really rage at GD. I fucking
You think I also rage this shit?
Bro.
Can I say why, by the way? IMO.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
I want to know if you agree. For me, I've never been the rage type, especially with GD, which is funny because like outsider's perspective, like when I talk to people, like my IRL friends about the game, like, isn't that the rage game? Don't you get mad? I'm like, no, because with GD and shit, like you can die somewhere stupid, die somewhere far, whatever, and you could be like, ah. But like outside of that, like, it's a single player game. Everything you're doing is on you, and there's nothing to really blame except for like if there's a shitty lag spike or whatever. That I understand, but everything should be like 99% of the time is under your control. But in multiplayer games like Fortnite and shit, when some like sped like kid on like 12-year-old on crack
Dude,
is going ape shit on his
guy after killing me.
That's what I'm saying.
Getting
I'm like, I want to
like,
throw shit.
Getting pissed off at some guy, like just getting in your box and just fucking you up, and then that would be enough, and then like getting Eldon or something just actually makes you just want to throw
I want to kill myself whenever
that happens. I'm like, give me this kid's address. Like, give me this kid's address.
That is such good, like, if you can train yourself to not get mad at those people, like, I need your advice. Mad at them now.
It's insane. I'm genuinely, I'm like the really calm Wojak. That's me. I'm just really so peaceful and calm. The worst I'll do is be like, oh, fuck you, and then just move on with my day. Like, I just don't get mad anymore.
I don't either.
It's so cool.
You know what I've done, which has been like therapy? Like,
therapy is Batman.
No, I'm gonna say this. This is only in TF2, because like in Fortnite and games like that have like so many like luck elements to an extent, I'm just like I can't even bring myself to be upset anymore. Cause like I'll be put in a bad situation, lose, and then like I'll get shit on for losing. Like yeah, well, no shit, I fucking lost. There's like different games that I play, like Melee. I never really get upset everyone playing Melee, cause like if they're better than me, they're winning. Like if I'm losing, it's cause I'm fucking
Yeah.
up or they're just being better than me. But like in TF2, I will get, cause I unfortunately main Spy and people hate that class the most. People will like get, I'm talking unreasonably like mad at me. They'll be like checking my profile, typing in chat every 4 seconds about me, and you know what I've started to do, which I do very, 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 very rarely.
Hmm.
On the occasional person, if they're really like that mad, I'm like, me and you should just do a nice little quick 1v1. And then I'll like 20 them, and I'm like, I hope you have a good day. And like that person is eternally tilted for the rest of their lives. And that has been like, I've never, like being good at a video game and doing that, for me, always just puts like a smile on my face. But other than
Yeah.
that, like single player games, whatever, like, shit's on you. You know
I have
what
a
I mean?
story
Like,
too
skill issue.
of
Yeah.
a game I used to play. This is TF2 is not niche. GD is like in the community. This game, all right. I used to grind the fuck out of a Roblox game called Phantom Forces, dude.
Oh my
my
god,
You guys both
Forces.
know.
I do.
I got so addicted to that shit 3 years ago, grinded the living fuck out of it. I tried getting 1,000 kills on every single gun, and I actually almost did it. That's how much I played it. I'm like rank 200. If you've ever seen somebody named Florin in your game, that's me. If you've ever been dogged on by me, that was me. I got addicted to it to the point where like I would just take it way too seriously, and like my mental approach to the game would vary from day to day. And yeah, I developed a very deep knowledge for all the guns, what was better, what wasn't, what attachments, what like literally. Just to give you an example, the AS Val before they buffed it is terrible. My memory's fading. I would have to actually go look now that I think about it.
Yeah.
The Colt LMG would used to be the most overpowered thing ever because it was rank 0 and you could alt aim. MP5, S tier gun, one of the best. Just that kind of thing, you know. Just building
Yeah.
up hyper knowledge from a niche game that you just grind the fuck out of. And I burned myself out harder than I ever have, and I haven't played it in forever. So there's that. I got 1,000 kills on every main gun at one point, except snipers.
That's pretty crazy. Okay. What's next?
Let's see. Oh, okay.
Also, peep the GIF I sent. I think it's very, very,
Stop.
very peak.
I see the
I don't
next
know.
question.
I love this fucking. I'm sorry.
This might be a good one because we get varying answers on here.
Okay.
So you've beaten a lot. Of everything you've beaten, what is the absolute worst experience you have had with something? And then what is the best experience you've had with something? Does anything
Okay.
stand out as just being
So-
egregiously bad?
Are you ready for the the most anticlimactic answer I could possibly give?
Yes.
The worst experience I've had with the level is Truefet. That's it. It was pretty fucking bad in my opinion, but it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. I died twice to the last click. One of them was a fluke, and then I got really frustrated. That's all.
Makes sense.
That's genuinely all that it fucking is. I don't know. As for my favorite experience with the level, let me look through my channel for a second.
Are there
Now, when it comes to my most beloved experience that I've ever had with the level, it's obviously Silent Clubstep, right? But
That
I
makes
didn't.
sense.
I couldn't give that an enjoyment rating if I tried because it was like I had a task that I needed to do, and I worked towards completing that task. I didn't like see it as like a level like other things. I just saw it as fucking Silent Clubstep, and it's this level that I want to be. And then there was also Farthest Outposts by Jagos. That level fucking sucks. I hate it. It needs an update. That's the other one. Blitzer brought it up in chat.
I've
I
heard it's
completely forgot about that. Okay. Let's see. My best experience. I don't have anything where I would say, oh my god, this level was absolutely amazing. I loved it so much. I really don't have that sort of experience because I'm kind of gravitated towards dog shit, if I'm being completely honest.
yeah. It's like with
Let
movies.
me look at the list because I have genuinely like 7 unsubmitted list demons, or unuploaded list demons. So let me take a look.
Did you?
Promethean was such a special experience for me. That might be my answer. I'm not 100% sure though.
You beat that really fast.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
beat it
was
in 5
really,
days.
really. I was gonna say, like, you beat shit so absurdly fast. Like, I think I may be wrong. Please correct. You should know this, so correct me if you
Yeah.
do. You were rather the lowest attempt count on Slaughterhouse, or one of the lowest.
No, I'm the
Your
lowest.
lowest,
I
right?
took
I
less than
remember.
space I
I
claimed
think
to.
the only person who I thought was I'm not sure if it was Trick or whoever who just said I don't know around 40K or
That
whatever.
was
something like that.
Trick said like around 50K. I remember
Yeah,
looking at that.
something like that. I remember seeing around like dude. Anyways, but how
No, I took 40.6.
how
Okay.
That's my question is how and how
Because
that level was.
I'm a good player, I guess. It's just that I don't apply myself.
Oh, ego,
Like-
ego. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah. Shut
No,
up.
You're so clever.
I'm mocking them.
Yeah. I know. My favorite experience, dude. I liked Arcturus, honestly. It was pretty fun. Because it gets so consistent. I really enjoyed that level. Hard Machine I hated. Sunsets. It's probably Sunset Sandstorm, honestly. That level, the first 32%, is some of the greatest gameplay ever conceived in this game. It is fucking incredible.
Isn't
That's
the
interesting.
first 32 dun 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 dun?
No,
dun,
it's beautiful. It is immaculate.
I'll
I
take your
cannot
word
recommend
for it.
Sunset Sandstorm enough. It is incredible, and I
That's-
had such an insane mashup, and I think you'll like it.
That's interesting because I disagree, but you know, to each his own. So
Wait,
it's
wait,
okay.
I'm
We
gonna
can
peep
still
this.
relax.
No way.
Are there any extremes that you just think are way too overhated and not like low hanging fruit ones like top ones that would obviously just have like always a loud minority about this sucks, this sucks. Are there any levels that you just can't understand why people hate them so much unless you've already
Yes, I have a
aforementioned it?
couple.
Okay.
VSC is one. It's not an extreme demon, but I found that level really fun. It's incredible. It's one of those levels that I think should be on the bucket list of anybody who's a top player. There's just something so special about beating VSC, and it was one of the best experiences in the game for me. That's one of them. Second is Paqoe. I think Paqoe is super cool. I genuinely think it's in my top 10 coolest levels on the list.
I agree.
Koaretta's the same way. I think Koaretta is really good.
I agree, man. I'll
Same
keep
here.
going. I'll
Promethean I love. It's such a fucking cool level.
gonna
There's just
cry.
something the style of gameplay and how simple the ships are, yet how difficult they are. It's just
Yeah.
incredible. Deimos by end level I think is a really cool level with a really cool deco style that I see everybody shit on. And I'd say those are probably the ones that stick out most to me.
I do want to say something. I completely agree with Koa. Koa is way too overhated. I don't understand
So
why people
cool.
I'm
hate it
surprised
so
anyone
much.
hates that level. It's
I
so
don't.
good.
I just cannot understand, especially when it was made because there was nothing like it. People just fucking. I don't understand it, man. I don't get it.
People didn't like it because they're like, why is this rated? Why? And then,
like it's
nowadays
okay.
we're like,
It's okay if people don't like it, but I just don't understand how people can. I just don't get how it's so overhated.
Nico, can you upload my level?
which one?
This one. Can you upload it to your channel at some point? Thanks.
I love that level. I love LD50. I love LD50. Everyone in chat, if you don't know what LD50 is, you're a noob and you need to look up LD50 Paqoe right now.
Here you go. I got the link. I'm pulling up with it.
There you go. Please
Dude,
watch
we've
that.
been
That
going
level
for
is peak.
3 hours. Jesus,
Okay. So let's keep up the pace. Okay.
we're running out of
what's
stuff
next?
though.
We're running out of stuff. I'm noticing there's a dot. What's the dot?
I always put extra dots to fill in later when I think of
Got it.
something. Just jot it
Yeah.
down, you know.
How does it feel being peak? That
Does it
my
feel
question.
being peak? It feels Kino to be peak.
That's what I'm saying. All right, talking point down.
Also, I'm perfectly content with going off topic and just talking about whatever too. It makes for an
it's just that it's kind
organic.
of dragging a little bit, and I'm Pacific time, which means that it's almost dinner. It's not that big
Oh,
of a
you're
deal,
not
and
Eastern?
I can. No, I'm Pacific. I can go a little bit long. Like I'd be fine
I
with
got-
going
I got
like an
a- I
hour,
got a
but
hard-hitting
past that,
question.
I just kind of wanna.
I got
No,
a hard-hitting
you-
question.
Go for it.
What's for dinner?
What's for dinner? I was thinking Chipotle.
That's a safe option.
I don't
fucking-
have-
Chipotle, Domino's, dude. Okay, look, I'm having a bit too much Domino's, but it's insane, dude. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but you can get Domino's for $8.
Where?
You can get
How?
a large,
What is this
large
hidden
one,
tech?
a large one-topping pizza. They have a coupon that exists in perpetuity, as far as I know. You can get a large pizza, one topping, $8. It's insane.
That is peak. If I've ever
Me
heard
and
of it.
Blitzer split it. It's fucking crazy. It's insane. It's
I have
so
a
good.
friend-
Domino's is just, it's gas.
I have a friend, and if he watches this, he's gonna know I'm talking about him. But I have a friend who just does not like Chipotle at all, and I just think he had a bad experience. And I'm gonna
Chipotle
make
is
him.
insane.
I'm gonna make him go to the one on my side of town. I would say the town, but I don't want to get doxxed. And we're gonna try it
I'm
again.
doxing you.
So
True. Typing in your
I would
address.
love to talk about our favorite restaurants, but we would all just dox ourselves because there's
No,
a
no,
lot of
No, I can
local
talk about
places.
my favorite restaurants.
Also,
I mean
I've never had
like
Chipotle. Did you-
local. There's a lot of local
Okay.
places I like that I just can't say because then
Oh,
people
wow.
will look it up and be like, "Oh, he lives here." And you know,
could
I
just
will
give
say
it,
this.
Like, give it a fake ass name. Call it Jimmy John's.
I will say
Jr.'s.
this. I don't think this ever was public, but I met Crone 44 on accident. In one of my
That's
favorite
real.
restaurants. He was just in line. This was like a year and a half ago. I was just at one of my favorite places, one of my favorite Asian places, got in line because I was hungry. And I was like, that guy above me. I was like, that guy in front of me looks really familiar. And then
You
like
should've
started
I
yelling
got
the
a good
song
look
out
at
loud.
him. And then I got a good look at him. I'm like, no fucking. Are you a crone? He's like, yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and we were just
You know
talking
what I
about
would have
GD and
done?
whatever else.
I would have just started playing like Sandstorm, just like progressively making it really loud for no reason.
Well, you know what he does? Crone, every time, I don't know if he does this with everybody, but every time he meets somebody, he lets the person send a level on their account. And I was really fucking funny.
What?
I was really fucking funny, and I looked up Golden Paracosm, and he was like, no, is that a 9 Circles level? No, you can't, not to bag on him, it was funny, okay?
I see.
I did that knowing, like, he would probably be like, I don't know if I'm gonna send that one. No hard
Real.
feelings.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
It's
I'll pro-
even in person. He's like, he just takes the phone away. He's like, no, I can't let you do that.
I'm sure I just doxed the state I live in if people know where Crone is, but I'll probably run into him again. Who knows?
I've never met. Well, actually, that's a good question. I've never met anyone IRL from GD or anything. Have you ever met anyone, obviously other than Blitzer? I
Yes,
guess
I've met a
IRL.
lot of people. I had a Six Flags meetup with like 9 of my friends a year ago. I met up with Effects, which was great.
Yeah,
A lot about that.
There's some shit there. Let's see what else. I know. Oh, I've met up with Vane.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you know him. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
met up
yeah.
with Cine, who I know you guys know.
Yep.
Yes.
I've met up with what's his name? Spyrosh and Saturn. And I think
Was
the
that
other
in? Was that
one.
in? Fuck, I don't know if I want to say the state.
It's in Oregon.
Okay, I thought it was gonna be in Jersey.
No, we met up in New Jersey like a year ago.
I need to meet
Me
people,
and a bunch of people who were all friends. We went to Six Flags and it was fucking crazy.
I met up with. Do you know Digi?
I met up with Digi as well.
I met up with Digi, Vinny, and Kyoto, Evie.
How long ago was this?
Like a year and a half, maybe. And Vinny.
Real? Yeah.
I think I said Vinny.
I love Vinny, dude.
Vinny's funny.
Vinny's amazing.
went to,
and then Found is like the chillest person to meet up
I
with.
want to
dude.
meet
I
him
love
so bad. I've known
Do
him
you
for
guys
so
know who
long.
Easter Bunny is?
Yeah.
I do.
I used to
He's
make fun of his
amazing.
name.
He's my favorite person to meet up with. He is so fucking fun.
Yeah. Man, I want to meet
Actually, I
Nate
lied.
so bad. If Nate is watching this, you gotta come down to where I live, but I won't say because I don't want people to come to my house. You gotta
Yeah,
come
DM
down
me
here.
actually.
Also, I'm gonna
What?
say,
DM me where you are.
I
Okay, hold on.
low key lied, because I forgot that I have met up
I thought you would.
with someone
Sorry.
from GD, but it wasn't because of GD. I've met up with Sciomancer or Havoc. That's it.
Right.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bro,
which,
I
that
remember
wasn't
I
for a
thought you
GD
told me
meetup.
that you were black once, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my! Should I tell them? Should I tell? Oh,
Sure.
now it's too
Go
late.
for
I
it.
guess I
Sure.
kind of have to.
Yeah, you
Sure.
In 2019, me and Atomic, because me and Atomic, like, we still are best friends, but we used to call all the time because like he used to exist. We were both on the list team, and I had, for no fucking reason, this is the stupidest shit ever. We were just like, what if we just lie? What if I just like, we're just gonna start a gaslighting bit for no fucking reason. So we were like, Atomic's like, sure, and like you're just like, just tell them you're black. And I'm like, okay. And we had like, over the span of like a year, like we kept that up, like over and over and over and over and over and over, and like so many people were in on the bit. By the end, when I was like done with the team, I'm like, Yeah, I'm not. I'm white. Like
Dude,
I remember
I
one of the
believed
leaders.
you.
One of the leaders at the time was like, "I knew it," and he was so mad. It was so funny.
Can I DM you and ask who it was?
Yes.
Or can I just say it right
Just
now?
say it in the group.
Yes. Say.
Moosh.
It was not Moosh. Moosh was in on it.
What?
Yeah, here I'm gonna type it. I don't know if they wanna. They don't
Whoa.
really. It was.
Oh, okay.
he
yeah.
he was like low key. He
Really?
was low key cheesed because he was like the most skeptical out of anyone on the team. He's like, no, Ice is lying. He's lying. And then like. Literally a year of gaslighting, he was like sorta on the fence. So when I told him that, he was so mad that I even got him considering. So yeah, like that was definitely a period of time. That's all I can
Yeah.
say. This was like 3-4 years
Okay.
ago.
If
All
we're,
right, let's move it along.
if we're
here.
talking about lying about stuff just because, I will say this. I'm about to expose myself. You guys aren't ready for this. When I was about 10, I loved Smosh because who didn't? It was
Same here,
2013. And I lied on Skype and told all of my friends on Minecraft and Xbox that I lived in Sacramento, California. You know why? Because
used to live
that's
there.
where Ian and Anthony lived.
What?
That's just why. I just thought Sacramento was a cool name. And
It's a cool
I just
name.
lied to
It means-
everybody
it's like
a
sacraments.
decade ago, just saying
It's
I
a
lived in
religious ass
Sacramento.
name.
I mean, I only kept that up for like 2 years because like I realized like this doesn't like who cares?
Doesn't fucking make
It
sense.
doesn't matter. Yeah, who didn't lie as a kid exactly? We
Name
all
one
did.
person who didn't lie. Yeah, that I still can't believe I did that. And still, very 2019 of me. All I'm
Yeah.
gonna
I
say.
don't really think I've lied about anything else except for like age on websites when you sign up. But like
It's so weird
again,
to
who the
not
fuck
lie
doesn't do
anymore
that?
on pages. Like, I don't know why. Like, I used to like, for example, with YouTube, because I wasn't able to watch like age-restricted videos. I'd be like, oh yeah, like I'm 18, and now I'm like I'm 20. So now when I like go to like an age page, I would always naturally because sites always have restrictions on shit and won't like etc. Even like Twitch. So I was like, I would be so used to just putting over 18. So now that I'm like 20, I'm like, oh, I don't have to lie anymore.
Yeah. It's,
And
it's
now I'm
kind of
sorta
weird.
it. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. You don't even
We're
have to
old,
press
man.
it.
We're old.
I'm old. I don't know if Paqoe's that old.
I just turned 19.
You're close enough.
Yeah, just
legal in Netherlands, so yeah.
Oh my, it's Netherlands.
Oh, is it?
Netherlands, legal in Netherlands.
I didn't know
Die
you spelled it wrong.
Netherlands. Oh.
Oh my god, well, that was
Oh my
impressive.
Dude, we could go to
God.
Holland and smoke meth.
Facts?
Right, we're getting
saying.
demonetized now.
Okay, we're getting off track here.
Anyway,
All right, let's get
You
back.
wanna do like one or two
I
more
didn't
things
say
and then
that.
call it?
I didn't say that, okay? That must have been like the Carbonaro effect, or like when you're colorblind.
Okay.
No, start over. You know when there's like an earthquake? I'm quoting a fucking meme video if you can't tell.
Okay, let's move on.
Anyway,
Okay.
Yeah, Blitzer is on a dinner.
fuck, people are finding out the method.
the method.
The Netherlands method.
Hey, whoa.
Dude, we're gonna have to pull the plug. Come on.
Get tossed
Someone
the
just
Lux on.
cooked you. Pickle Bob just destroyed you, bro.
Wait, what is that?
Oh my god.
Okay.
Pickle, you need to stay
Okay.
in your lane.
Okay, let's move it on.
Dude, we don't even have any more topics. We can just bounce off.
We
and just-
do.
Where? I mean, we only have
We
one
got-
more.
We got tidal wave,
Where
bro.
is the topics?
We've
I
got
mean,
tidal
well,
wave.
I
It's in-
just, I assume we talked about it already, but we can talk about it again if you want.
Will you beat Tidal Wave right
Here's
now?
the deal. There's no way it's getting rated. It's just not happening. Someone's got to beat it on 240 for it to get rated.
I hate
That's my
I hate
thing,
this
right?
game, and I am
So
depressed.
that's the unfortunate truth.
That's
Just
curtains.
from the vibes that I get, there is just no way that number one, like Rob is going to let it get rated, and number two, that mods are going to let it be rated. So kind of fucked on that, right? So there's that. And then second of all, I do think it should be rated. It's really fun, according to like literally everyone. Let me look at the questions again. It's really fun. I think the deco is genuinely a little bit interesting.
Right?
This is going to be a little. I say that this is a bit of a hot take. You know how people talk about how like Zodiac's progression is insane, and the second drop to 100 is like magical feeling, right?
Yeah.
You know how people say
Yeah, I
that?
think so.
That's going to be what people say about Tidal Wave in like 5 years.
It's
Yeah.
legit. Can I say why I agree in a weird way? Even though like the level doesn't really progress that much in terms of deco, the song carries so hard to the point where even I will.
I like
I
the
don't care if
song.
this like the ending doesn't like do that much visually for me. The song like just being the song, I'm like okay,
It's
I'm
so
kind of I'm
cool.
like the song. There's no other way to describe it. Taking this from
It's
Simple
like
Flips,
Sphere by Creo.
the song
Yeah.
fucks. That's all I can
It's
say.
it's crazy. The
That
song
song
is so
actually
good.
fucks.
Yeah, okay. So and then what makes a successful top one is the last question that you had. So
Oh, is that
I think
fair?
that a top
Oh,
one
it
is one,
is.
yeah, where people look at it and go, whoa, this is cool if you're not in the community. That's why I know this is going to sound like masterful glazing of Ice Cave here, but I think Slaughterhouse is the best top one ever because there's no level ever that has felt so like obscenely intimidating and
My
just
jaw
like
dropped in real time, by the way.
yeah, no, that is sincerely my favorite top one ever.
Thank you.
If you show that to someone, if you show every single level like ever made to someone who has never played the game before, not counting shit that's like specifically mental, if deceptively hard when it's actually
Yeah.
easy, they are going to say Slaughterhouse is the hardest.
My personal
Someone said,
favorite.
"Oh my glaze," I can relate.
My
Also,
personal
I will say
favorite.
I did make that
Sorry,
with
sorry.
that intention. No, go ahead.
My personal favorite is Bloodlust. It's a pretty safe.
That's fair.
I
Bloodlust is a
fucking
fair pick.
love Bloodlust.
My second place is like probably Tartarus.
Tartarus is good.
That level's
Again,
pretty fucking
I come
scary.
from a fucking time where it's hard for me to find like really bad in levels. That didn't really come out right, but I come from a time where I just kind of like everything, and so I kind of have a skewed perception compared to what modern people would think about the levels that I like. Like there's people
No,
that
I like everything as well.
yeah, I'm just easy to please, I guess. I fucking love Bloodlust. Slaughterhouse is cool. I like Zodiac. I like whatever. Tartarus is
Get
cool.
this guy mod. Get more
Aternus
shit, cool
is
shit
fucking
rated.
That's what I'm
sick.
saying.
Okay,
I need mod.
Aternus?
You know
Okay,
why?
Okay.
Because
Oh, no.
I will fix all the problems. You hear me? Hear me,
5
Nepesta?
minutes
True.
with Rob Top, baby. 5
No,
minutes.
Give
I'm
me
kidding.
5 minutes. I want 7 minutes with Rob. That's all I
Byron,
want.
if you're tuned in right now, give me 5 minutes. That's all I need. Let's schedule a time.
By the way, I'm kidding.
About?
Fixing
minutes with
everything.
Rob.
Obviously, that's a joke. I tried to become a mod a long time ago, and it
same
just wasn't something that was going to happen. And I honestly, I'm not fit for that anyway. So
That's fair. I'm definitely not fucking getting mod. Like
I'd
I've always
rather
thought it
not
was something
have
where
it,
it's kind of
um,
cool, like for like the past like couple years. But I've kind of reached a point where I no longer respect the people behind that, and I don't want a part of it.
I just don't want to be associated with a system that I feel like there's nothing I'd be able to do to make any change
Here,
on my
I'm gonna
point of view,
give an
even if I
idea,
was a
or-
mod.
I'm gonna give an example of how, from my understanding, like the general leaking atmosphere of mod chat is.
Oh my god.
A while ago, are you guys familiar with My Demon List?
Yes.
Yes.
I was in a Discord server for that because Vibrant set up the rules for what's considered leaking. Saying you're in the server was leaking.
I just don't get it.
Just to give you an idea of
I
what
just
it's
don't
like.
get it.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
And that's basically all I really have to say about that.
I think the lack of transparency and the overclassification of things like mod chat is such a big problem. And I understand that they
agree.
want to protect anonymity, but I feel like I sound like a politician, but I feel like for the greater good, I feel like it would benefit a lot. It would be very much more beneficial if we could find some sort of common ground and find a solution to the overclassification problem that we seem to have in mod chat, as well as the lack of
Exactly.
transparency between people in the know and people on the outside.
It's
Exactly.
half
Here.
But that's just
Here,
what
I'm gonna
I think.
throw
You know,
something
what
out
is
here.
what
I'm
does
gonna throw
my
something out
opinion
here.
matter, right?
Has anything been leaked from Demon List HQ publicly in the past 2 years? The answer is no. Nothing important has been leaked in the past 2 years, right? And the reason for that isn't because we say you can't leak anything. I've leaked like countless screenshots from Demon List HQ because we have 2 rules, or I guess 3. Number 1, does this harm an individual person if it's being leaked? Like, for instance, if it's to apply this to mod chat, it's like, oh, what if this person says this level that everybody likes is bad? Then they might get shit for that. That shouldn't be leaked. Number 2, everybody in the screenshot, unless it is completely harmless, has to consent to it being leaked.
Yes, exactly.
That's the second thing. And number 3, it can't be something that is inherently damaging to have leaked. Like if I talked about like hack detection stuff, that would be harmful leaking and wouldn't be allowed. If I posted some screenshot of someone saying something a little embarrassing in Demon List HQ, that would be leaking. And these work perfectly fine. There have been significantly fewer leaks from Demon List HQ than Mod Chat in the past couple of years. It is night and day. Yet the attitude that Mod Chat has is so much worse when it doesn't even fucking work.
Yeah, I hate it.
There have been several mods who have been demoted for leaking, and there was that whole thing about like all of the logs of people like saying the N-word and stuff like 5 years ago that got leaked. Like there have been like genuinely, I think 3 demotions from the mod team in the past like 11 months. Less than that, like 10 months, that including the thing about the person who like screen shared fucking mod chat or whatever.
It's just
in
not
the past couple of months. And I think we have had to kick one person ever from the Demon List team because they were leaking.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just because they accidentally slipped up in a conversation, and it was like, and it spread a little bit from there. And that's literally it.
May I say
like,
one thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously cannot say who ever, but I know for a fact that I like, and I shouldn't, and I don't spread this because I'm a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
like
it's
stuff
about to
that
be
I
too
know
late.
about, well, no, because I'm not saying what it is, but I know,
Okay.
way, like, I've been told things about, like, things that were going to happen that I should have never known before
like, what
they
is this
actually
about?
did. I was basically told, I was legitimately told, oh, your level and this level are going to be getting raided before the system was even known to exist. And I was like, huh? And then like a few weeks passed and both of them were raided. I went, oh, I shouldn't know this. And I never said anything about it. But like I've had times where people have said that stuff to me and like they're no longer on the team, but they weren't on the team or they weren't kicked off or anything like that for those reasons. Like, that stuff happens, and people just don't even know about it.
Yeah.
And the demon list, like, I was on the list. We didn't have leaking issues when I was there. Like,
leaking issues don't exist.
Yeah.
Like, the rules that we have work. If people want to leak things, then they're just going to do it after they're not on the mod team anymore, or when they have nothing to lose and they don't give a shit. You can't stop people from leaking entirely, and you might as well make the server not, like, have this intoxicating atmosphere if everything has to be kept completely under wraps because it's stressful and pointless.
And
like, I'm pretty sure GS is the same way. You can't leak screenshots from GS, to my knowledge. I might be wrong about that, but isn't that supposed to be a fucking friend group?
Yeah, I'll say
what the
something.
fuck is up with that? They have kicks for inactivity. Like, dude,
yeah, I was gonna say that they have. I know that they have kicks for inactivity, and I remember being like, really? Like, okay, I this is something that's sort of like, I can relate to it because I have SE, and I know SE isn't. I've intentionally like never really talked about it or made it like. I could have pushed it everywhere because like Slaughterhouse is a silent engine level. Super Hate Me World is, Grief is. It's all SE, but I don't label it as.
I'm looking at it right now.
But this, big group.
Let's look at SE.
There's a shit ton of important people in there, quote unquote important, very influential people, and like all the like policy I've set up, like me and Cyrillic own it. All we say is like, don't leak things, and if like you're gonna post things from the server, like just make it harmless. Like if something's funny that's said and doesn't like it doesn't matter, I don't give a fucking shit. Why does it matter?
Exactly.
Like telling people that they cannot share anything, in my opinion and in my experience, incentivizes people to want to more, subconsciously or not, and results in more leaks than if you had simply just said like, yo, be logical, or just run something. If you want to spread, if you want to share something, just ask.
Because I'm sure some of it is just that I'm genuinely sure that they get more leaks because of the fact that people are like frustrated with the state of the mod team, and thus they leak things.
It's a Streisand effect.
I don't know what the fuck that is.
They just need to chill the fuck out. And another thing, I've talked with some mods before in servers about like, oh, what if you guys were more transparent about your results? And they're like, we don't want to do that because we might get backlash for our like verdicts. And it's like, if you get backlash for a decision that has no downside, if you make that decision like the reality, then make that decision. If people get upset that you don't rate a level, then rate the level. Like, what is the point of the mod team and being community representatives? Because I know that like mods have been promoted in the past because they represent like underrepresented parts of the community. Like I remember some guy got promoted for, I think it was either like the Italian or I want to say like the Polish community. It was one of those two, something like that.
Yeah.
people have gotten promoted because they are specifically there to represent the interests of certain parts of the community, except for the playing community. But I digress.
Because they don't. They act like
they don't
care.
They don't matter.
And can I say also top demon scene creating? Because I was originally, when I wanted to like be a mod at a certain point, my entire thing was like, yo, I can
You're
represent.
part of the playing community.
Yeah, I'm like, I can represent like top demon stuff and impossible level things, like really like niche stuff in that, and they just didn't really care.
Yeah, no, they don't give a fuck. So anyways, that aside, if you're gonna get backlash for a decision, and you promote people specifically for being community representatives, and thus the mod team is there to sort of represent the interests of the community en masse, then you need to fucking listen to what the community wants. Like, it's just so, it boggles my mind the way that some people have run this game, and I have lost a fuck ton of respect for Viper in recent times because he makes unfathomably terrible decisions that are horribly misinformed and disrespectful to large groups of people and the people who work for him.
Oath.
I just don't understand it. And another thing I wanted to mention a long time ago now, when you guys were talking about 2.2 and the physics, I knew it was bad, but I didn't realize it was that bad. I didn't know it was that bad. I knew it was like the dawn of 2.2 and how the physics and how they're not gonna they don't care about
they
all
don't
that
care,
stuff.
and it's going to. I can't say specifics, but I could see it being drastic enough where we are literally forced, even if we decided to have our own rate system, where we would be forced to walk that decision back and just limit it to a GDPS.
And the thing that you said earlier about messaging a mod trying to talk about it and them just being like, that pisses me off
leaderboard
so
mod
much.
and elder mod who has
that
2.2.
pisses me off so much. And like they don't give a shit at all. They pretend. I'm not gonna put words in their mouth, but from what I'm getting, they seem to pretend that they care.
Can I say one thing, by the way, about that? I want to
just an assumption.
We talked about this a lot. I wanna preface and really say this for generally everyone's outlook on this sort of stuff is also like you said way earlier, Paqoe. Like one mod doesn't really have any power, 100%. Because here's the thing, I've talked to a lot of mods, and we've all been talking about our experience talking to mods and them being like
100. Oh shit.
Mostly positive, right? About like, for example, I've talked to multiple mods who all like express the same things, right?
Wait, stop real
And
quick. My fucking Chrome crashed. I hope it didn't screw up the audio.
Fuck.
Yep, it
Hello
did.
everyone. Is the audio?
It did.
Oh.
It screwed mine up.
Oh wait. So wait, is Blue just non-existent?
No,
chat?
hold
Is
on.
it just me?
Hello, everybody. Of course, it turns my camera on when I don't want it to. But you see my
240p.
It's apparently working. It's apparently working.
Okay.
All right, we're
Anyways,
good. Sorry,
I was gonna say,
my Chrome decided to crash.
with a lot of stuff, in relation to mods, a lot of mods do genuinely care, and a lot of them
I genuinely have had great
I'm
conversations with a lot of mods, and I'm really grateful that there are people who seem to, at least to some extent, be sticking up for the interests of this part of the community. But those are few and far between, and it doesn't matter because it all comes down to Viper and Rob.
It's in a huge system, and it's just more like saying that because I've been really keen on this of not making, because people always say mod team, this, that, and whatever, like as a group, but like when you look at the individuals, like a lot of them aren't.
No, I've realized that it's kind of unfair. At the start of this whole 2.2 drama, I would sort of go after the mod team as a whole. And I've realized that that's just not accurate because none of them are able to make decisions. They may reinforce those decisions, but it's not fair to sort of smear every single person like that. Blitz has been absolutely great about it. She's been putting in work for this. And I know this Rob expects things to be leaked, but she specifically wrote a document talking about why 2.2 physics are good and sent it to Rob and got aired. And I'm not sure if that's something
dope. Also, can I say something about Blitzer? Wait, let me type this real fast just to make sure, because I'm careful.
What?
Wait, I'm typing. I'm not 300 words per minute.
Oh, are we doing an ad read?
Yes, that's public.
Okay.
There's a specific pack for that, I'm pretty sure.
All right. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm making sure because I wanted to say like when Blitzer messaged Rob about Arcturus, Slaughterhouse, and Firework, like Blitzer legit like changed GD history like permanently. Like
it was so fucking cool.
And can I just say, by the way,
I know what you're talking about.
I'm tooting my horn. I did this last time. I don't give a shit. But Slaughterhouse is like considered like for current year 2.1 whatever, like the red level, quote unquote, like the like number one, like it has currently, and I checked earlier today just for like, I was curious. I'm curious because I watched that video's analytics, and it still gets more and more popular somehow, and I don't get it. But that video has like 11.6 million views, only one of them on my channel. The other one has like 5 million. The level's one of the most popular levels generally, even outside of this game. Failed the mod vote. Wasn't gonna get rated. Yep, didn't fail. It
I
failed.
love
Because
it.
Vibrant said.
You love it.
Vibrant said.
Vibrant told you it failed the mod vote?
No,
Holy fuck, I didn't know
in the
this.
AOD tweet, he was discussing about top levels that failed, and he brought up that Slaughterhouse was one of them. Like, I'm 99% sure. Like, I remember that very clearly, though. If I'm wrong, I'm honestly gonna be very surprised. But I remember being
both
told,
Slaughterhouse and Sakupin failed.
yeah, that.
Of course they did.
So I was like, again, when
Not
I was
to-
told that, as someone who, I was so happy my level was rated, and that, like, again, this is very personal to me. You know how much that level means to me, and again, like, it has so much history. That being rated and being like, that was genuinely in GD only.
Yeah, no, this actually happened. Fucking
best-
Slaughterhouse and Sakupin failed. Jesus Christ.
So you can imagine how that day of it being rated was like my happiest in relation to Geometry Dash itself, was like my most satisfying and happy day in the entire game. Then being told, yeah, it failed, by the way. The only reason it got rated is because someone kind of went rogue and against our interests. And my, like, smile just, like, disappeared.
One other thing. Okay. This is a whole other soapbox I have to go on about Viper suggesting shit to Rob Top, because that's how that works. He shows levels to Rob, and this isn't a secret or anything like that. He's been doing this for years. Did you know? Okay. Do you remember Tower Descent by Paqoe? Do you know that level?
Oh
Yes, I
god,
do.
we're going
It
there.
placed number 2 on Vibrant's creator contest, and it's a great level. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But guess what? It specifically bypassed the demon system because it got rated in 3 days, and it is physically impossible for it to have gotten rated. It is like 24 seconds. If a level is rated anything above 2-star, and if a level is anything greater than 2-star, and it is less than 30 seconds long, and it is short length in game, it physically cannot be rated. It kicks you out whenever you try to beat the level. It can't happen. Yet, Viper showed it to Rob in spite of this, and it got epic rated within 3 days, bypassing the demon system, and it definitely wouldn't have gotten epic otherwise, but it was in Viper's creator contest, and he sent it to Rob, and it got rated because of that.
Yeah, I think he also, by the way, I can be wrong, but I believe, timeline-wise, I'm not even sure if anyone could correct me without leaking, but I remember Viperin was a big fan of Moment when it was first released, and that level I remember it being rated, like, really quickly. And I remember being like, I remember when Viperin said he liked it, I was like, oh shit, like, it's probably gonna get rated. And then it did really fast, I was like, oh. And I remember that happening, just sort of being like, well, it's because he liked it, therefore that. And I remember actually, I'm not gonna talk about that, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm legit airing.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can err a lot too.
Yeah,
I
look,
have the exact
it's-
same.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's fucking crazy. I think that things are really put into perspective when you realize that if counting tidal wave, half of the top 8 demons failed the mod vote. It's just kind of crazy.
This is
Yeah,
what
that's
I.
fucking
This is like what I'm
ridiculous.
talking about when it pisses me off, because I love to see this game progress in difficulty and more top hard levels get placed. But then there is a system that just fucking messes with it. I mean, and I'm not like, not to dog on them. They do a good enough job, but it's just the fundamental way that the system is built is just designed to give a fucking huge middle finger to these levels. And
I've heard a great idea, and I'm not sure how viable it is to implement. But some people have said that the vote to say no to a level should be removed, and there should just be a threshold. And I think that's a great idea, because if a mod thinks that a level shouldn't be rated, then I don't think that they should be able to weaponize their specific opinion, if that makes sense. Like, it should kind of be more on the side of, are these if a mod votes yes, then they're probably doing it in the interest of some group, whereas voting no to a level doesn't have any positive effects. Like, a level being rated can never be an objective bad unless there are specific things or precedents that come tied to that, which doesn't apply for 99.9% of levels. And if mods were just weren't able to vote no and weaponize their opinion, then I think things would be significantly better.
Yeah, I remember one thing that I think IMO would help in terms of the rate system just in terms of like voting, like basically it's like yes or no. Can we just have an option of just like IDC? Because a lot of times, even for
No,
myself,
you can
right?
just not vote. But I know I've talked with some mods before who have said that they kind of feel bad,
Because
and
it
feel like
makes
they're
you
obligated to vote so that they can stay active and stay in their
exactly.
position in mod chat.
It makes you look inactive if you don't vote. So if they just add an option of basically IDC, because dude, you know how many times like with me, I'll have a level that like I don't like super, but I can like this level. Yeah, I'm fine with this being rated. I'm not the hugest fan, but like yeah, cool. Like if I just put IDC, like if it doesn't get rated, cool. If it does get rated, I don't mind. Like have that be a thing without making you look inactive. And also, I don't know if this has ever changed. I had this conversation with somebody who like actually I believe could have done something. I have no idea if it ever changed because again transparency lol. Even though the transparency by the way is very half-assed because I'm just saying if I make a level and it comes out and it's extreme demon, I know what's going through the system and I can tell if it passes or not within a month. So nice transparency. But pretty much I remember saying
Tunnel of Despair is funny because people thought it failed, but it just was never sent.
yeah, no, that is the funniest thing. I was gonna say though, like I remember saying, like remember earlier how every mod was sort of picked out originally for being unique and being a part of it and representing their own communities. That in the context of a majority vote makes no fucking sense. I gave a moderator the suggestion of if they wanted to make the system quote unquote better, in my opinion, obviously, was to tweak it being majority into it being like 40% or something like that, just a lower
I just
Yeah,
think Rob should
threshold.
see the levels that fail instead. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I legit said like if it's like 50, if you're set on it being majority, if something gets like close, I don't care if it's like 35 to 40%, like let him see it, let him be the judge because
Yeah,
that's how
exactly. If that's actually a really good way to frame it, is have it so that like if it passes a certain threshold, even below rate, let Rob see it.
yeah.
Anyways.
No, look, that's what you remember earlier, like way earlier in the stream when I said the old rate system. That's why I want it. That is literally the reason why, because I miss Rob being like
yeah.
he sees something and he's like, oh cool. Even if like I'll say about the old rate system because it is worse, but like again,
The
there's
issue
times
with
where
their
you'll
old rate
never
system
know.
wasn't like what got rated; it was the fact that it was inconsistent.
You had no idea, and it was inconsistent.
And
Yeah.
a low quantity of stuff got rated.
I will say though, the one thing is like, if the whole old rate system completely revolved around Rob, like Rob needs to be like he needs to see this, and it was luck based if he did. But honestly, like current day, keep in mind who I am and the levels I create, obviously, because this is a very me issue. But like, I much rather it be RNG if Rob sees Stellar Knight or not to have a filter where I know it's gonna fucking fail and he'll never see it anyways. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
personally, but obviously, like if they can just tweak shit and make things better and actually account for the most
Nico.
dedicated people who play the game, yeah.
Being
What's up?
told no would also be nice.
Yeah, no, if I was like, oh, can like Rob, can y'all show this to Rob? No. I guess like I wouldn't be happy, but I would be happy to hear a no. You know what I mean?
Their solution, sorry, I'm away from my mic. Their solution to that being like the indirect like month threshold going by is just like that's not
one other
a good
thing that
enough
I'm going to
way
say
to make
that
it
I've
work.
heard from a former mod. I have another thing to add, which is that the problem with the current system also kind of extends to the fact that Rob is still a bottleneck, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Because there was a period where, if I remember correctly, and I heard this from a former mod, just because I want to make it very clear that there's nobody who should be punished for this because they've already been demoted, that the channel just gets closed, like. And from my understanding, like the channel to suggest demons was closed for 2 weeks, a month ago. Just 2 weeks straight. You could not suggest a demon. If you look at the document that Viprint has written, it says, oh, mods might have a cooldown sometime so that they can't send several levels too fast, which makes it sound like it's an individual cooldown, which does exist. That is the thing. If I remember correctly, the person told me it was like 20 hours or something like that, which is fine. That should exist, and that's fine because it means that that's not happening too often. But also, there was a cooldown where the channel literally could not be accessed for 2 weeks straight because Rob had like too much on his plate. It's clear that the system just doesn't work right now and it needs to be changed.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's funny, this has parallels with actual governments in the world. overclassification of things gives people the feeling of like, you know, being a little too comfortable and then doing things that they know that nobody will ever find out about because if something does happen, it's classified. Like the parallels are just like life imitates art pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I do want to start wrapping things up here.
Yes,
yeah, we're
yes,
about
yes.
to finish.
Yeah.
God, we're almost 4 hours. Damn.
That dinner better be popping, all I'm saying.
Dude, I don't know what it's gonna be yet. I haven't decided. Dude, okay. If you live on the West Coast and you go to a grocery store called Fred Meyer, don't go to the grocery store. Go on DoorDash. Put in the code for 50% off sushi. I have the Dash Pass like for student payment, which is like $5. So I paid $23, including a tip, to get sushi delivered to me when it would normally be $37 if I went to the store. Fucking crazy.
Insane.
I actually
I ate good tonight or for lunch.
I had sushi last night for dinner. I had a whole California combo. Ate all that
I
shit.
had a California combo and spicy California.
Dude, I've been bulking, so I just gotta eat.
So fair.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really difficult. You have to eat a lot, and you have to really just go hard. So.
You just gotta. That shit. I can't even.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to pump iron. It's hard, man. Fucking work
Wake
out
up.
every day. Eat a lot every
Bro,
time
when
you
you're
eat.
sleeping, you gotta be thinking about eating and working out.
Yeah.
I've got it down
well,
to a science, though. I eat like 5 eggs, a bagel with cream cheese, 2 waffles. We're getting there, and I have seen results. That's all I'll tell you.
That's so cool. GG. Okay, I do want to wrap things up though. I'm not sure how you guys do that.
Well, we just do closing statements.
We legit just say goodbye, everyone. And
You know
closing
what we will
statements.
do? We could replug the memberships again.
Oh, shit.
For the 4th time and play melee.
Oh,
that's
we got an ad read. Use code Dasher to get 50% off anything in the in the GD shop.
The item shop.
I almost said
Yeah.
item shop.
Make sure to buy my skin in Fortnite. My code is. Fuck.
Oh,
I forgot.
one more thing.
One more thing.
One more thing.
One more thing.
What are your plans for the future? Is there anything
I
that
don't
we
know,
should
man.
be
It depends on how
that
2.2
we should be
goes.
looking forward to? Okay.
Jeez.
I genuinely just don't think I have the motivation to continue trying to be a top player in a community where the being like a good player is kind of almost
Right.
bad. And I just don't want to deal with that. My ideal situation, right? Let's say that Fortnite never changed from how it is right now. I'd be like, goodbye, Fortnite. But I can't do that.
All right. Somebody mentioned this. We forgot it with Riot, but we won't forget it this time. So when we had Zoink on, I was joking around with him, telling him that he should buy a CRT and go to the logical next step in his career, because CRTs are like 500 hertz or whatever, you know. So it's time. When's the CRT? When's the CRT switch? When's the big logical next step?
I'm saying.
Oh,
That's
the
what I'm
Switch is
saying.
already out. Check Steam.
Oh yeah, right.
Yo, CRT just came out. Holy
CRT
shit.
is
Can somebody
out,
make
bro.
a
Thank you
fucking
so
extreme?
One monitor update.
Can somebody make an extreme called like CRT and just make it only possible on like 500
Critical race theory.
FPS?
On only CRTs.
Yeah, it's
Oh
just
my
built around a square
Okay.
screen, so the glow on the sides
Alright,
doesn't
alright.
work.
All right, we're getting a little out of hand here.
Anyway, we are ending for real this time, and I know it says starting soon, but I baked it into one PNG, so there's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry. But yeah, this has been episode 5, right? I don't even know my
I think
Four.
so. 4.
Yeah, 4. Episode
4.
5 is next week, and we have a guest already
Yeah.
planned for that. That'll be interesting. God, I
Is it
hope
the
it
person
goes
who
well.
you said before?
I think I told you. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
you did.
If I did,
was just yeah. it
I
was
hope
the one
that
who was
goes
gonna be
well
today.
because that could go really bad, depending on
How would
what
it go
we
bad?
say. I'll tell you after.
Sure.
All right.
He's gonna say I can't say that, but just, yeah.
It's classical.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever, Okay.
What did you have for lunch in the mod chat? Classified. Sorry, I can't talk about it.
I don't
What
think I
does-
could share that information with you right now.
What did Viper have to eat today?
Classified. But
You
Belgian
discussed that in
waffles.
mod chat. I wouldn't bring it up.
Yeah,
Belgian
it's a little bit
waffles. Wait,
dicey.
no. I just got demoted.
Fuck.
Fuck.
Please don't demote
I just got
me.
demoted for talking
Yeah,
about
okay.
Why
it.
was I just kicked? All right.
Okay. All right,
right,
let's wrap
well,
this up now.
okay.
Thank you
Goodbye,
so much for
everybody.
having me. This is a great time. I honestly look. You know how people kind of have seen the past couple episodes, you know, and I've been a little bit cautious. You know,
That's okay.
I didn't set my hopes too high, but this has been a very good time, and yeah, you guys do a great job.
I
with
wanted
this.
to have people like you on because I like hearing all opinions.
All opinions, all of
People
them.
see the clip of Riot and are just like, you know, just label it as crazy, and it is crazy takes. But I
Yeah,
also want to
the
hear
top
the
10
people
thing
who.
is a little
I also
much.
want to hear the people who disagree. I want to.
Yeah.
That's the point of the show. It's to be an interesting, thought-provoking conversation revolving around the guest, which in this case is you, and I think we did a good job.
I think you did too.
And
I
we're
had a
going to
great
try to
time.
get creators, players, which we've already had, you know, whatever, mods,
Yeah.
people who run shit. But yeah, this has been episode 4 of the Dashwood Podcast. Once again, for the 10,000th time, memberships, super chats, super thanks, and general donations are appreciated and are now available. Fully sign off now.
Goodbye.
So
All right, goodbye.
you just saw my
I
just saw
accidentally
my
missed, like,
profile.
way too early.
They just saw my desktop, but I didn't show anything, so it's fine.
All right.
See you guys.
All right.